My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Okay, it's 5:50 a.m. and what you will see in the images reflected are the people of the state engaging in gang stalking with the city of Ontario, and as they are aware that they're being documented through images, they begin running. And as they begin running, the Ontario police scurry along with them. That's incriminating them, and no one's escaping anything. The Ontario police are being disbanded for that very criminal engagement in stalking. License 9NBN356. They began running down what is F Street, and then turning onto Laurel in order to escape my documenting their license plate up close. This is a white, that was a white, I want to say a Dodge. No, that's a Ford. That was a white Ford. I have the image of the vehicle, and it's 551 when I'm taking it, 6 NID 641, and it's the Aegis Drug Distribution Center, where they're giving out drugs to addicts, and they're gang stalking in concert with the addicts. It's indistinct amongst the drug addicts and those that are giving out drugs to them. License 82252C4 is gang stalking with the Ontario police that's fleeing the scene along with the rest of the criminals that are engaging in psychopathic behavior, such as stalking with light in parking lots, which is gang stalking. License and the Aegis is located at 125 F Street. Stalking in the parking lot, license 11438K3. And it's 5:52 a.m. All right, and as you document, like I stated, gang stalkers are not gangsters. They're cowards. They're demons who require, by the way, somebody to work with them. Demons work in groups because they're very timid creatures, timid spirits who are definitely fearful of Christ Jesus. And they're also fearful when they realize that voodoo isn't working. License 8NMD242 8SGV011. This is the same Aegis clinic that I'm documenting their license plates. They're gang stalking, and this is the same street, because remember, I'm only walking 0.4 miles from the TABOR professional building to Starbucks and the OVITT Family Community Library. This is not even a mile where the entity's keeping the fake sun for the duration of the day. They're all gang stalking. This is gang stalking. And this is the disbanding of the Ontario Police Department. I went to Los Angeles. I documented and confirmed that the state of California is a gang stalker, as Dominic Choi, Michael Moore of the LAPD repeated the exact same pattern of conduct that I documented in 2020. This entity that stole the evidence of it is not removing it from the record. I'll document the fact that you stole that evidence. It is referred to in other evidence that I still maintain, and the LAPD provided a wealth of documentation engaged in the same pattern of conduct, and it is the disbanding of the Ontario Police Department. CROWBOY 7FXL338. Stalking in the parking lot with light activity. This is license 6HOJ821, documented them before. The entity is not only going to be documented with regard to engaging in the P.O.C, but the frequency with which they're engaging in terrorizing an American citizen with the police department. That's how you will also get to federal prison. P.O.C. I want to make sure I document this. Okay, so this is it. And remember, when I'm walking towards Starbucks every morning and the demons are meeting at the driveway, engaging in the same pattern of conduct, meeting is pursuant to stalking. The entity engaging in what is stalking in the path as they are remaining in the parking lot with light activity as I'm walking from the TABOR professional building, and that population is gang stalking as they're stalking with light. Set with the Ontario police that cross path, scurrying the scene with the rest of these demons I don't want to be documented. License 7THX757, stalking with light 8UKJ918. That's one of the demons that are baristas inside of the Starbucks, as I believe is 6HOJ821, the same. License 9APY925. And the entity is amplifying plane activity, as I'm documenting on an ongoing basis, where the entity is gang stalking but with the Ontario police, and they're outside stalking with light with that same entity, and they are aware of the fact, everything that I document, the demons of Starbucks are aware of it. That's why they engage in what is more of it. This is very foolish because I'm looking at you, I'm documenting you, and you're going to federal prison for it. Nonetheless, these are the mentally ill that are gang stalking. License 9MHV520. 5:56 a.m. The entity is engaging in, this is a tactic with regard to meeting in the at the driveway, as they're typically doing. So they're engaging in what is stalking in the path by loitering with light activity, and it's the same conduct, meeting behavior. So they're meeting by engaging in openly surveilling with light activity in the parking lot. Which is the same ominous stalking, a population meeting you, not coincidentally, but systematically with regard to every move that you're making. And as you document that, the demons are still engaging in stalking by sitting around in a parking lot, engaged in ominous stalking with light, and doing so, which is pursuant to the same meeting conduct. So pay attention to what I documented about Starbucks as I go to the drive-thru, as I arrive at that drive-thru, and you have the population repeating that pattern of conduct. So the entity decided to sit around in vehicles as I approached the Starbucks with, and all of them stalking with light. And it's starting at what is the Laurelwood apartment complex off of that street, and those demons running. As I still took pictures of the entity gang stalking because they're acting as one, it's not individual. So I could document the entire, I could go up and down and document every, because they're all monitoring together. It's not the individual, meaning it's not that individual acting alone, it's an entity, a public entity. 05363F1. And the entity is engaging in pursuant to a pattern of conduct which is showing all the ways in which they are gang stalking. This is what you're getting to, especially when you're under a fake sun, and they're showing the purpose of keeping a fake sun over a building. stalking with light. 9CYL820, light activity facilitation with the population you hear crossing path 9FFJ886, 7CNT742, 6YVC283. License plate 8RRU153. And this is what the entity is doing when they are stalking with impossible light that flies inside of the Starbucks. That's stalking with light. When I'm on Omnitrans and you're looking at impossible light activity flowing on the floor in between the seats, that's impossible light. That's stalking with light. When you're looking at my shadow appearing at a distance away from me, upright, multiple shadows on, that's called stalking with light. Sitting in your vehicle in that engineered environment with your headlights on, that's called stalking with light, and it will be documented as that federal offense pursuant to gang stalking. The entity is engaging in what they have no constitutional rights to engage in, which is presence, and criminal monitoring the elements, which is light activity. And the entity that is acting through 9CYL820 is subject to what is a federal prosecution for federal stalking, because they're monitoring. It's P.O.C. It is currently 5:58 a.m. Vince is gang stalking. Alana is here monitoring. Yeah, they have a third party at opposite ends of the cafe to maintain surveillance. P.O.C. And these are the demons that they maintain presence for with regard to Chevron at 520 North Euclid Avenue. ARCO is monitoring at 434 North Euclid Avenue. The entity's obviously traffic is engaging in that pattern of conduct. They're the demons that are maintaining impossible light activity inside of the venue. They're the ones driving in it to maintain surveillance, just like they are at nighttime at the TABOR professional building. That's surveillance, not traffic. The entity is stalking me. It is currently 5:59 a.m. where this is evidence of the Ontario Police Department surfacing as I document demons that begin running away because they don't want their license plate documented. And this is what the Ontario Police is engaging in, monitoring my vagina while demons are stalking and pacing, engaging in surveillance in the Starbucks as well. So don't forget about that. That's why they're being disbanded, because they're sex offenders. There's no legitimate government interest. There's no law enforcement practices in the bathroom when you're monitoring the vagina of a citizen, a private citizen that is minding their business, living their life, and you're keeping them under surveillance because you're an obsessed, demon-possessed entity. It is currently 6 a.m. on Wednesday, June 25th, 2025. This is P.O.C. This is documentation of the public entities stalking, following from place to place. And also this is harassment, and it's terrorism while demons are stalking with light. Their pattern of conduct following and engaging in the ominous stalking conduct, molesting with light and following with methods of light activity. These methods of light activity, this ongoing obsession with light is pursuant to criminal monitoring, which is what demons are doing. And they are obviously doing it under a fake sun where all of the entity is stalking with light. P.O.C. All right, pay attention to the pattern. As soon as I walk outside, you have a demon that pulls up. This is relevant to crossing path, making sure that you're always surrounded with activity. 6NOR814 engages in this, and then getting out to buy a beverage at Starbucks. It's the pattern of conduct. They can do so pursuant to whatever it is that the demon possessed would like to be the focal point of their activity. You can engage in, like I said, sit on the sidewalk and deliver a baby if you think that that's important enough. You're going to be prosecuted for gang stalking. It is currently 6:03 a.m. These are psychopaths that are gang stalking together. It is 507 North Euclid Avenue, the Starbucks that's engaging in that and facilitating it by providing what is a facilitating venue for the entity to engage in targeting with the state. And this is all conduct of the Ontario Police Department. They engage in the same pattern of conduct while they are relying on the appearance of being police officers to engage in stalking you, to engage in gang stalking you, which is, again, delusional. They're going to be prosecuted. They're going to be disbanded. This is P.O.C. It's 6:03 a.m. All right, the ongoing pacing, which is the behavior of psychopaths that are stalking, monitoring another person. This is what the demons employed at Starbucks are engaging in. It includes Alana, 6:43 a.m. She would be on the surveillance cameras as well, walking from the bathroom and backing toward the bar area, where she is crossing path at the same time that her co-defendants, the people of the state, parked beside the curb in a blue vehicle. with regard to light activity, that's the significance of that, and it's demonic pacing while they're joining her as she walks out, crossing path with me, which is the whole purpose of her walk to the bathroom. That's what's so sick about gang stalking, and also gang stalking in a bathroom, using a bathroom via a bathroom, centering it around a bathroom. This is sick behavior, but this is Starbucks that's gang stalking through its employees and with the gang stalking patrons. And this is all the documentation evidence that's going to disband the Ontario Police Department. You can look at it this way. The Ontario Police Department is already disbanded, okay? The Ontario Police Department, the gang stalking kidnappers and those stalking wearing police uniforms, they're already subject to federal prison. This is where this is heading. You're witnessing the formal process to that inevitable conclusion. The entity is gang stalking inside of the cafe, and they're doing so with the demons, the co-defendants, the entity that's pacing on the outside of the building, and doing so while a third party is aiding in her criminal engagement in the elements of crossing path and light activity creation, while a demon driving a blue SUV. It's like an old CRV vehicle. Nonetheless, it's the timing. The vehicle stops with regard to light activity as she is walking by, coming out of the bathroom. She's monitoring me in doing so. This is the same thing when you're looking at the fake sun shining and they're walking in and their shadows reaching all the way across, swiping over the floor, the couch, my person, and the wall while they're walking by. It's the same pattern of conduct. The entity is doing the same thing over and over again. I'm showing you and teaching you, training your eyes, your vision to recognize the P.O.C. Demons who are stalking with light. It's always a question of how are they doing it. That's it. Okay, and stalking with light is because they're monitoring. And who monitors? The demon-possessed monitor, Satan, monitoring spirits. They're using these bodies. They have names. They have positions in government, and you're going to prosecute. That's what you're witnessing. It's 6:45 a.m. This is P.O.C. I'm going to go through the documentation of the entity stalking in the path as I walk from the TABOR Professional Building, and the demons are maintaining presence with methods of light. Stalkers. They're all sitting in their cars aiming their lights, which is terrorism by that population. It's as terrorizing as the stalkers who are pacing all around you all day and all night, stalking you, following you from place to place. It is as terrorizing, by the way, as the entity stalking you in helicopters, following you around in planes and helicopters. It is as terrorizing as the entity amplifying all manner of audible noise, everything that you can hear, at a volume that is abnormal. And that's for purposes of monitoring you and for monitoring in concert with the population. Let me get you this third party. This is Alana that's gang stalking. And it is at 6:46 a.m. The same third party whose vehicle she gets out of when you could see the fake sun in the background while she is meeting in the path as I walk toward the entrance while she's gang stalking and doubling as a Starbucks employee. This is, again, the lack of requirement of any education in order to engage in the state's P.O.C., which makes it easy for someone like myself to prove that a population is gang stalking with a bunch of imbeciles that are in the government sharing in the exact same P.O.C. Which also shows that no education requirement is any exception to the demon-possessed that are targeting in a highly unintelligent system, very unintelligent. It is currently 6:46 a.m. Alana appears to be a Latina female, not to be confused with Elena, who is the Caucasian female, short burgundy hair. She is a quote-unquote lead, like Raquel, a quote-unquote lead. They're leading in what is federal time in prison. They're gang stalking, and they're gang stalking by their position, and this is facilitating corruption amongst the workforce, which is relevant to Starbucks' facilitation of gang stalking amongst the people of the state as a corrupt business. And so while your leadership of your workforce is engaged in the P.O.C., that's also relevant to the prosecution. Alana, license 7XVG779. This is the same demon, that same vehicle, that same third party. That's the vehicle she's getting out of when you are looking at. That is documented. Today is the 25th, so you will witness her getting out of that vehicle replete with the fake sun in the background. You're looking at a demon that's gang stalking as an employee, and she's engaging in what is meeting in the path as I walk outside of the entrance doors. The demon possessed are meeting, like in the same way where I'm walking toward the Starbucks and I approach the driveway. This is where demons are meeting. And meeting is pursuant to stalking. That's pursuant to knowledge about where I'm at and what I'm doing as I get there. It's not a coincidence. It's a pattern of conduct by the population of demons who are stalking together, i.e. gang stalking. So that's the third party license plate that Ilana is getting out of and is gang stalking me in doing so. And this third party is repeatedly being documented. This is relevant to the prosecution of the people of the state. Systematic, repeated, ongoing gang stalking is relevant for enhancement. It's relevant for federal prison. This is what I'm documenting, for example, at speaker companies. You're contracted with the third-party speaker companies to gang stalk me on the job. And to also gang stalk me as a resident at Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles. And as I documented, regardless of, the contract that you maintain with the third-party speaker companies is nothing other than an admission to being engaged in the pattern of conduct. That's how you're going to use such documentation, such business records to prosecute an entity that is targeting with a civilian population that uses its businesses, uses its business endeavors to engage in targeting. Whatever it is that they have scheduled to do at the property, they schedule it around the targeted individual. They use it as a means to target the targeted individual, and they're engaging in those services to that property in the specific environment. And as they engage in their services to the property, it is maintaining the specific environment. You're going to be prosecuted in your contract with a third party such as speaker companies. This means it's proof of your criminal engagement in the P.O.C. That's literally how the entity is facing an inevitable prosecution. It's public corruption, and it's in plain sight. It is a straightforward prosecution. The entity is engaging in this P.O.C. and this meeting conduct that I was speaking of, and as I documented, so what the entity engaged in today is meeting with regard to maintaining light activity. So as I'm walking from the TABOR professional building to the Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue, and the demons who are aware that they're being documented are proving, again, on their own, because I've already proven the case. This is relevant, this evidence that I'm continuously capturing is relevant to the diagnosis of mental illness of the gang stalker. It's relevant to the enhancement time in federal prison regarding the gang stalker, to the removal from public office, to the disbanding of the gang stalker, to the civil damages pursuant to the gang stalker who is engaging in what is targeting through commercial means, for example. It's relevant to the entity that is subject to what is that, the federal policies that I advocate and how they are demonstrating it's exactly as I have prescribed it. Okay, it's what justice requires. That's what this is going toward, because I've already proven, the case is already proven, and it's been proven, by the way. Nonetheless, the entity is engaging in what is proving that they're gang stalking while maintaining a trail of demons through my walk to this Starbucks by stalking in the path and doing so with the method of light. And this is how chiefly the people of the state do it in California, stalking in their vehicles. All right, so it's the specific environment. It's the same thing when I have the fake sun over me and I'm walking by them, they're stalking with the method of light. Even as they don't have a vehicle, for example, and they just engage in, for example, if I was walking down the street off of Laurel and F, the same intersection, where the demon in the Ford Mustang, that's the white Ford Mustang you'll see, stalking in the path with light activity. And as that demon is anticipating, by the way, that I'm going in my pocket to reach for my phone, immediately turns off their headlights, and then persists in escaping the scene in a direction, in a path that they surmise I'm not going to be able to catch up to them, and I don't have to run and go get any defendant. They're acting as an entity, and everybody on that block is subject to a prosecution. Like I said, everybody in that aegis. They're nothing but a narcotics dealer. They're gang stalkers distributing drugs to addicts, and they're getting paid by the government to do so. And it's relevant that they're engaged in criminal monitoring, which is demonic as well. Just want to point that out to you. But everybody inside of that Aegis building, everybody inside of the Laurelwood Apartments complex, everybody at the same complex that I'm documenting, that is, like I spoke to about yesterday, which was June 24th, 2025. Today is June 25th, regarding the plaza on G Street, which is east of Woodside Senior Apartments, engaging in what is substantial molestation with impossible light activity. They're doing so pursuant to the P.O.C. And as they engage in what is alternating with the people, let me document these licenses, 8LFR 887, surveillance, African-American female gets out as I walk over and document her license plate. This is a psychopath. This is the same demonic spirit. So you're just going in on camera to make a purchase, which is a record of your criminal engagement in the P.O.C. And their demons engaging in surveillance with this demon G, who's stalking in the bathroom in the path, while demons are engaging in surveillance on the curb in their vehicles. This is so pathetic. This license plate, this third party comes in, purchases a drink. Let me get these license plates, and I'm going to go through the rest of my analysis. That is 8M65547. Gang stalking with the demons of the employees here, going in and out of the bathroom, crossing path and doing so. It is currently 6:53 a.m. So the entity is engaging in this P.O.C. And let me give you a picture of this demon that's sitting in her car, engaging in surveillance, and immediately hops out to go get her drink, which is a means of crossing path and monitoring. You're monitoring, period. Let me go and buy a drink so that way I'm not gang stalking. This is the lack of intelligence with regard to the system that the entity is relying on. And it is going to be literally your purchase at the venue, your employment at the venue, your presence at the venue is the conclusive evidence that you're gang stalking. Okay, this is again the lack of intelligence and the inevitable demise, the unintelligent, the false presuppositions that this entire entity relies on. And that's, you know why it's so unintelligent? Because the entity engages and relies on bullying people. They rely on voodoo in order to take people down while they're targeting them, engaging in psychological torture. They rely on their sex rituals while they practice witchcraft and then gang stalk American citizens, which is typically effective. Let me get this demon's picture. Hold on. All right, so the tactics of the demon-possessed entity, they don't work. And not only do they not work, it is also my pleasure to expose these tactics of Satan to you. And Satan is being prosecuted as a corrupt government. Satan is being prosecuted as a public entity that is engaged in this corrupt system of federal group stalking and monitoring. And Satan is not impervious to being prosecuted at all. And it's also highly unintelligent when you're relying on the absence of logic, the absence of any reasoning, just bare bones abuse of power and bullying conduct. But then when your voodoo doesn't work, when your witchcraft doesn't work, when your so-called a bullying conduct of using a whole bunch of people to target somebody, to psychologically torture someone, and that doesn't work, then what do you have? Because you cannot withstand, ordinary common sense level of scrutiny. The commercial planes taking off over the Starbucks is clear evidence of targeting by the airport. The entity flying over this Starbucks by helicopter is clear evidence of targeting by the police department. The entity engaging in any manner of what is activity under the fake sun, including sitting in the car, walking to and from the bathroom, preparing drinks, being in the drive-thru, sitting in the parking lot, being across the street at the gas station, under the fake sun that sits over the building for 12 hours is clear evidence of targeting by the state. The entity is engaging in a pattern of conduct, and it is highly unintelligent, and these are demons that are not used to and don't have to use any brain power. They rely on the quote-unquote power of Satan. Satan is nothing but he's like a roaring lion. He's only powerful and effective against those who, first of all, do not walk with Christ Jesus in a real life, ongoing, active relationship where you are a disciple of his and you are filled with the Holy Spirit that cannot be overcome by any demonic spirit. You're not intimidated by any demons. By the way, logic dictates, in my mind, no demon is intimidating when you're stalking me. This is absurd and it's ridiculous, and it is getting to a logical failure. There's a detrimental, a fatal failure in the syllogism here. There's no logic here. It makes no sense. They're just engaging in stalking, and they're just relying on their identity. So a whole bunch of people are stalking together and acting like they're not, and that's supposed to establish that it doesn't exist. Okay, so you're going to surround these demons, these inferior and intellectually impotent creatures, with evidence that is insurmountable and irreducible, because no federal court and in no investigation are you disregarding evidence in the favor of a whole bunch of people that are delusional. and basically, they're delusional. So this is relevant to the mental illness. I'm going to use not only the evidence, but I'm going to use the attitude, the behavior, the knowledge that they maintain while they still targeted with regard to diagnosing and prosecuting. And it is also informing federal law. It is informing the way in which an entity engaging in this level of crime against an American citizen, how you are necessarily going to be punished for it, to show you the sickness of that entity. Okay, they engage in things like stalking in bathrooms. That's what I'm working with here, okay? The entity's engaging in this pattern of conduct and is doing so they engage in what is stalking the entire route in an obvious manner, maintaining a trail of demons in their vehicles with light activity, which is textbook P.O.C, stalking with light. They're doing so. This is ominous stalking, it's harassment, and it's terrorism. The entity that is engaging in the P.O.C, the objective is to stalk, follow you, pursue you, maintain light. And it's also not even normal light, it's engineered light. They're monitoring. And they're doing so while they listen to me document the pattern regarding Starbucks, who is at the forefront of the prosecution of the state of California. Why? Because Starbucks represents what the civilian population is engaging in, what they join and gather around, what they celebrate, what everybody goes to Starbucks and then they go to work. Everybody comes in. Let me be clear. Actually, Starbucks, what I've documented, Starbucks has a drive-through. And in this technological age, they're not coming in and coming into the cafes and centering their enjoyment of the beverages inside of the cafe. They're only doing that because I am. First of all, the Starbucks cafe is there, and I'm not saying that people never come in and sit in and sit and enjoy there and use the cafe, but this is not the case in 2025. This is not the age. People are not coming in engaging in socializing. This is not the age and the era that we're in. They're coming in to engage in stalking me because this is where I'm sitting, so the demons have to be where I'm at. And guess what? While they're doing that stalking, I lead them into a prosecution. But I just want to be clear, the entity, and let's step out of the entity, the way that this society is framework, they want it easy, they want it quick, and they're also engaged in what is doing it in a manner that is less social. They use the drive-thrus. They're getting it quick. They order it before they get here, and they go through the drive-thru to get. They're only coming into the cafe with regard to who they're stalking, and they're stalking the person that's going to prosecute them. This is also speaking to the foolishness of Satan. But Satan is more. Satan has to come to his obsession. And when I'm referring to Satan and the gender of male, I'm referencing the spirit. And this spirit is using a whole bunch of people who are foolish as Satan is, because they have that foolish spirit in them. And I'm exposing all of them together. I'm prosecuting all of them together. But nonetheless, this is everything that you're looking at, everything that you're witnessing, everything that I document, even the fact that they're in the cafe all day long, and that they're in the cafe all day long under a fake sun. They're in the cafe all day long with impossible light activity. And they listen to me document the pattern of this ongoing meeting behavior. They're meeting at every corner. They're meeting at the driveway entrance. They're meeting at the traffic lights. They're sex offenders. Their meeting conduct is pursuant to stalking. Okay, and that stalking conduct, that knowledge, in other words, this is where you're mindful of the sex offender, because they're also aware of my vagina in that same manner. A whole bunch of people together, that's a sex offender. Okay, so this is what they're always admitting, and this is what they're not mindful of. The entity is not able to walk and chew gum at the same time. Their only obsession and focal point is me, and I'm prosecuting them on several bases at the same time altogether. The entity's engaged in this pattern of conduct, and they're more obsessed with me, and they're not capable of, and you're talking about what are defeated and inferior beings based on their demon possession. They're not even interested in trying to be anything other than a stalker. Okay, they want to appear on a surface level. That's why you engage in gang stalking via a corrupt business like Starbucks. But that superficial veil, that thin veneer, it fails under the fake sun and in the engineered light and the plane activity, the helicopter activity, the criminal summoning by the police, by the fire department, the same pattern of conduct. Oh, okay, so now it's just happening at Starbucks, and you're looking at what is public corruption, and you're looking at what are deep pockets. But it is not going to be any substitute. I don't care how broke you are. I don't care how dented up and ashy your car is. I don't care what is the last time you got a paycheck. You want to gang stalk an American citizen? As broke as you are, you will be subject to federal prison like anyone else that thinks that they're someone else because they get a steady salary and a pension and a retirement or whatever. First of all, you'll lose all of that, and I'll prosecute you. There is no respecter of persons. The entity is entirely pathetic, and they are demons alike, which is what you'll learn. There is no distinction amongst one that is making $300K a year and somebody that is getting paid $250 on their EBT card for food stamps. There's no difference. There is no difference before the Lord either. They are equally despicable and wicked, engaged in criminal conduct, which is satanic at its core. And it's all being exposed together. And you are looking at the demon-possessed hold hands, and there's no distinction between one and the other. It's only the demon-possessed that is this world, this carnal existence that's made a hierarchy amongst itself. And that has no authority whatsoever. Satan has no authority. I'm exposing you, and I'm exposing to you what they are. They're all the same. They're all the same. They're engaging in the exact same pattern of conduct. That's why I mean by they're all the same. And this is the ability to categorize a mass amount of people when you have a pattern of conduct, when you have a supernatural pattern of conduct, and it's impossible to manufacture that. It's impossible for one person to make it up and have a consistent body of evidence of what they're making up. No, that doesn't happen. It's impossible. So the entity is engaging in that P.O.C. and they're going to be prosecuted for it. And so my point is, I'm going to go through the license plates right now. The entity is engaging in what is stalking in the path and during my route to, which is what they're always doing. But this morning it's standing out under, the entity is covering up the fake sun. And the entity is stalking in the path by sitting in their vehicles and maintaining this chain of vehicles of people sitting around in their, with their headlights on. And it is this white Ford Mustang that's in a parking lot that engages in what is stalking in the path with headlights. They're across the street from me. And at Laurelwood Apartments, this is an African male, perhaps he works in security, that's what his uniform looks like. Somebody that is, again, relevant for, there's probable cause there to suspect deportation applies with regard to his prosecution, and if he's not a natural born citizen. But as I documented, this African that's on the same side of my street, I'm going to read the license plates of all these third parties. He turns his headlights on as the third party across the street, who is, again, they're monitoring. You're not coincidentally engaging in the same pattern of conduct that I've been documenting for years. They are aware of the fact that I'm reaching in my pocket to get my phone, and this coward across the street turns off their headlights. And they're not a coward for turning off their headlights. The entity should have stopped gang stalking a long time ago. But they thought that voodoo and witchcraft and sex rituals, and they thought that spell work is going to work against me, and that it's going to work against a disciple of Christ. It's going to work against someone whose walk with Christ is calling them to expose the works of Satan. They thought that that was going to work, which goes to show how much they really know when they're following Satan, when they think that they have some sort of rank in the dark spiritual realm. It goes to show how much they actually know and how much power they actually have, because they could not foretell that this was going to be the result. But I'll digress. Anyway, the entity is engaging in what is turning off their headlights across the street as I reach into my pocket for my phone, which I'm reasonably doing in furtherance of documenting gang stalkers stalking with light, which is terrorism to the ordinary targeted individual. Everywhere that you're going, people are following you with light. They're always touching you with light. And those that are not aware of how the pattern of conduct operates, I have heard of people only explaining fragments of the overall pattern of conduct because they don't recognize it as a pattern of conduct, first of all. They point out certain characteristics such as this light behavior, and they also have not pointed out the fact that it's not even normal light. It's not headlights that are reaching at a great distance across the street, for example, and causing dynamic shadows where that light touches over everything. Those aren't headlights. And the pattern of conduct is, as you pay attention, they do things like aiming lights as a population. The entity is engaging in what is aiming lights, their headlights, touching you with lights, following you around. That has been identified before on the internet. As I've seen, I've done my research before, and nobody knows what gang stalking is, and nobody's able to put their finger on it and identify it. It is a very precise formula. It is a pattern of conduct that's centered around 3 core elements, and it's demonic. And so if you don't know Christ, first of all, you're not even going to get to it. It is a matter of discernment. And then again, with regard to a prosecution, you have to prove with tangible evidence what it is that you are discerning in the spirit. And I understand that as somebody that's trained in the law. So this is, again, having the appropriate skill set in order to testify to the reality of Christ Jesus and call Satan out for the corrupt entity that he's using to engage in targeting American citizens. So the entity that is engaging in what is amplified audible activity that you just heard, every time the entity does that, it's because I'm speaking of something that they are very hostile to me exposing about. They don't have any secrets. They haven't had any secrets, and I've exposed this before. Again, these are the intellectually impotent. Okay, high school graduates, high school dropouts, those that are engaging in what is criminal conduct, petty thieves, lowlifes, that rely on the superficial appearance of things. They steal as a way of life in order to have what is a negligible appearance of success, as the superficiality of California and this country relies on. But they engage in selling their bodies in order to do it. They engage in thievery in order to do it. They engage in gang stalking, where they think that they're going to profit from the demise of a targeted individual in order to acquire the things that they have. These are the demon-possessed. But I want to be clear, they're all listening to me, and that amplified traffic is occurring as they're listening to me speak about their pattern of conduct, which is, again, the molestation with headlights, as you've heard it referred to. It's within a pattern of conduct. It is referred to as stalking with light, because that's what the demon possessed are doing. Everything that they're doing is centered on light activity because they're monitoring. And ongoing surveillance is happening in a specific environment. The specific environment is distinct from the natural environment, where the sun doesn't sit on one street and doesn't deviate in any direction, east or west, in doing so, like I'm documenting from Starbucks to the OVITT Family Community Library, like I'm documenting where I'm remaining at Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles, where LAPD is gang stalking me, where the entity in LAPD, the government that's gang stalking, is already doing what the people of the state. So when I'm referring to LAPD, the people of the state are already a part of that pattern of conduct. The government can't do it without the people, and the people are in the shoes of the government. They're not private citizens. You have abandoned that umbrella of having privacy rights to be inside of the cafe, to be at work, to be at home, to be in public in the specific environment, and you will be prosecuted like the malicious psychopath that is gang stalking. That's exactly how you're going to be prosecuted. In your mind state and your criminal activity is at the forefront in your criminal case. But nonetheless, the entity is engaging in this, and the use of headlights is that's been discussed before. I've seen that discussed on the internet, about headlights used with regard to just harassing, but they're missing the point about what the headlights are for. These are demons who are stalking with light. The headlights are relevant to what is, first of all, demonic. You're looking at what is spiritual, and it's right in front of your face. While you're looking at a vehicle with lights on, you're looking at something that is very demonic, and it's happening in the specific environment. And even those headlights are not the explanation for the light activity, which people that describe headlights, they're not even touching on any of the light activity. They're not touching on any of that. All they have observed, and what people have complained about amongst the system of gang stalking, which has not been accurately and thoroughly defined and explained, is the gang stalkers that use things such as headlights as a population, which stands out amongst them. These are demons, and even their hostility towards you is exemplified, is illustrated in their stalking with light in that manner, using their headlights. And remember, I have a body of evidence heavily documenting Starbucks. These demons are very hostile toward me. They have to hide it, and they better be courteous and polite. They have to, because they're engaging in public corruption. And so on the surface, why would you be disrespectful to a customer? So this is what the entity is relying on. It's not just, and by the way, when they are rude, it's not mere failure at customer service. This is a gang stalker engaging in harassment. It's a federal offense. But the entity is engaging in, and it's a threat. The entity that's rude to you, this is the entity that engages in criminal summoning. This is the entity that's stalking you, monitoring your vagina, following you from place to place. And then they're being rude to you and disrespectful to you as an entity. This is what a stalker is doing. That's a threat to your safety, okay? This is the entity, and everything is escalated because of the gang stalking system. So this is literally what I mean by everything that comes out of the mouth of the gang stalker is going to be used against it. So the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, and the stalking with headlight behavior is relevant to what is harassment, and it's also relevant to what harassment by an entity. This is all federal charges. This is not ordinary harassment. The government is harassing you, while the population is maintaining a trail of demons, third parties, the people of the state that are in their vehicles while you are en route. They're stalking in the path, monitoring you on a daily basis, and anticipating where you're going. Even if I were not to go to Starbucks, the entity maintaining the same pattern of stalking in the path with light. If I were to go and sit on the curb outside of Chevron across the street, the entity is, again, that would be deviating from what I'm typically doing, and the entity is monitoring based on what they're observing you do on a daily basis, stalking you and engaging in stalking. Gang stalking is not pursuant to chronology. So the fact that you were there first, the fact that you worked there before you started gang stalking me upon my arrival a month later, you're going to be prosecuted. It's based on the specific environment, and where that specific environment follows me, you're gang stalking, and that's the intent, that's the malice of that system, and that's the unintelligent engagement in gang stalking, because you continuously do it while you're witnessing me document you. The entity that's engaging in this pattern of conduct is doing so in the specific environment, and that specific environment is maintained while Starbucks, the people of the state, all of the entity, is aware of what it is that I documented. So I want to hone in on what I documented the last 48 hours. The 24th and the 23rd, where you will see the entity, as I'm highlighting starting my day going from the TABOR Professional Building to Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue in particular, okay? Starbucks, the corporation, is engaged in gang stalking, and the pattern of conduct amongst the Starbucks establishes that. but Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue in particular. And as I'm doing so, I'm documenting the entity meeting me as I approach the driveway of the Starbucks drive-thru, which is pursuant to the stalking conduct. So as I arrive at the drive-thru, the people of the state are meeting there and crossing path in doing so. They're doing so pursuant to the maintenance of the specific environment. It's called crossing path. It's light activity and audible activity, including audible activity as I narrate it. And I'm in operation of my device. So as I live and be and document, this is serving for the entity's criminal engagement of monitoring me. It's a Title 18 federal stalking that they are engaging in while I use my device, which the entity has no authority under the Constitution to keep under surveillance. Nonetheless, it's audible, it's the elements of monitoring, and they're doing so as I documented on June 23rd and June 24th, while the entity is engaging in the same P.O.C. of meeting. And so while there is no getting out of the pattern of conduct, it's a cycle because they're engaging in a precise behavioral pattern in a specific environment, and the entity that's engaging in surveillance of the evidence against them is relevant for nothing other than ongoing criminal acts of obstruction and ongoing mental illness that's exhibited while they're stalking somebody that's documenting, and the stalker persists in the face of being what is subject to a straightforward prosecution. But the entity is engaging in what is following with a trail of lights today, as opposed to quote unquote meeting as I arrive at the driveway. They're meeting the entire time while they're stalking as I go step by step from the TABOR professional building, and demons are stalking the path with light activity, which the Starbucks employees participated in by stalking in the K5 in the parking lot. That belongs to what I believe this so-called G that's keeping his back to me gang stalker right now. This is a demon-possessed person who's focused on me while he keeps his back. That's a coward, by the way. And it's also a freak weirdo who stalks in the bathroom. But he is keeping his back to me while he knows exactly what it is that I'm stating. And my knowledge about what he knows and my knowledge about his cowardice is relevant to the pattern of conduct. That's how I know what he knows, okay? That's how I know what he's engaged in. All right, so the entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct, and I will state this, okay? Yes, I am discerning the demon-possessed, their intents, but I am also prosecuting, and so you're witnessing my dual ability to prosecute with tangible evidence and prove what it is that I know intuitively. So that's what you're witnessing, okay? And that's how I am proving to you what it is that I know about this coward that's keeping his back to me and is focused on me. All right. So it's currently 7:15 a.m. and these are the demons of Starbucks that are stalking in the path, engaging in what is using their headlights in the parking lot, and doing so while I am en route to this venue. And that's what the entity engaged in, stalking in the path with light, which is the pattern of conduct, in order to not deviate, but engage in the same P.O.C. of what is meeting as I arrive at the venue. So they engaged in meeting by stalking in the path, maintaining light, while demons are stalking with a method of using their headlights for my walk toward this venue, because they listened to me for 48 hours straight, document how the people of the state are meeting as I arrive at the Starbucks drive-thru, which is the pattern of conduct. They met me by stalking for the duration of my walk to this venue with light activity, and they are meeting when they engage in what is stalking as a population pacing all around me on the roads and the highways, and then crossing path as I arrive at the drive-thru entryway of 507 North Euclid Avenue. It's the same pattern of conduct. This is the highly unintelligent, in what I refer to as the intellectually impotent entity that is monitoring evidence that it cannot get out of. You cannot squirm your way out of your own pattern of conduct. All right, this is the entity that's engaging in that, and their obsession with me is proven while they're still engaging in it, and it's no longer a secret. They're no longer creating or manufacturing mental illness on the part of the targeted individual. They're establishing legislation, they're establishing policy for their diagnosis as the mentally ill who are engaged in the criminal act of federal group stalking and monitoring. That's what they're accomplishing. And it is also with regard to the practice of witchcraft by the demon-possessed, that gang stalk. It's also referred to what the demon-possessed recognize as a return to sender, and they're experiencing this return to sender in many ways. It is currently 7:16 a.m., so I'm going to go through the license plates of the entity that is gang stalking while I'm en route to this venue, engaging in the pattern of conduct of stalking with light, which is, again, the ordinary targeted individual is subject to an ongoing campaign of people that are stalking them in the path, aiming lights on them all the time. And the entity is typically doing this with headlights, especially in California where everybody has a vehicle. And that is by design, because California is targeting, criminally monitoring, and use of vehicles as systematic means of surveillance in the specific environment in California. And so this is how you're recognizing how society is tailored to the public corruption where that civilian population is targeting with the government. Your inability or the challenge inherent to not having a vehicle in California, that's by design with regard to gang stalking that's underway in traffic at Euclid Avenue. Outside of this Starbucks at 507 Euclid Avenue, that's what's demonstrated. The entity is engaging in massive surveillance, and Starbucks is going to be prosecuted for that inhumane conduct, for that unconstitutional conduct in the shoes of the state. Gang stalking, they're going to recognize what it feels like to be prosecuted as a corrupt government, since they want to help that government gang stalk somebody and doing it to somebody that's prosecuting. This is how foolish they are. But it's the entity is nonetheless engaging in this. So first of all, I want to start with the third party that I'm documenting at 3:04 a.m. She is stalking with light in the path, doing so with the people of the state that are pacing on G Street, and her license plate is 7PAF963. So that's just concluding my evidence as I'm capturing her gang stalking, maintaining light activity at 3 o'clock in the morning, where the population is monitoring me, where it is that I'm sleeping. And so coming from the TABOR Professional Building, the entity is engaging what is surrounding with light activity. That's traffic on G Street as I'm walking from the TABOR Professional Building, and I'm documenting the entity surrounding me. This is a threat. It's also psychological torture, while the entity that is gang stalking you uses things such as headlights to surround you. And this is, again, psychological torture, and this is what's designed to falsely depict the character of the targeted individual. You're supposed to be, absent the evidence of the P.O.C, that's supposed to make the targeted individual under the illusion of mental illness. And the corrupt gang stalking courts, they use that illusion to adjudicate and steal property from you. Falsely depict your character, that is libelously adjudicate you on the record as being mentally ill when you seek to enforce your rights. But there is no seeking redress in the gang stalking courts where the public entity is gang stalking you, and I've also documented that. The entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct, and it is a jurisdiction that is reserved for the federal government based on public corruption. The federal government has jurisdiction based on the criminal conduct of public corruption by the state, and also the fact that it is relevant to federal stalking. That's providing the federal government jurisdiction. That's federal question jurisdiction. And it's also based on the fact that it's across state lines. I documented from California to Nevada, the entity engaged in the pattern of conduct. That in and of itself, with regard to jurisdiction to the federal government, you're not getting any redress of grievances from the state, period. But nonetheless, I've also documented, and this is relevant to understanding the law, the federal government is the one that is necessarily providing justice. You're not going to get justice from the stalker. Now, I do want to be clear, the federal government's hands are not clean. They're not. The entity has federal offices. The IRS has an office in San Bernardino, for example. I.I.S has an office in San Bernardino. The FBI maintains an office in downtown Los Angeles. They're in a relevant position. They're gang stalking. So I am exposing the federal government that's engaged in it, and they have dirty hands, and they need to deal with that. But the federal government is the body that is necessarily intervening and providing justice to the targeted individual, and this is how it's going to be prosecuted. It's necessarily prosecuted in this way. The entity is not trusted, and the entity is subject to prosecution, and there's no immunity from that. All these laws that are designed, it does not apply because the government is engaging in terrorism against an American citizen. This is changing the landscape. This is totally different. The laws and the ways in which they're created and the purposes that they serve, it's all premised upon the fact that the government, it's all premised upon the notion of trustworthiness of the government, which is what we are always assuming. When that is not the case, which is gang stalking, that is the evidence of the irrebuttable presumption of public corruption. So we're not working from that standpoint. We're not coming from that vantage point at all. So this is changing. The government's not going to be treated as legitimate and be presumed to be trustworthy. That's absurd. You're literally prosecuting because they're engaging in terrorizing American citizens. So you're not getting that. You're not going to be treated in that way. And everything is suspect. And it is not so just because the state said so. In fact, the evidence shows that it is likely not the case because the state said so, because it came out of the mouth of the state actor. All right. So the entities engaged in this P.O.C. and the pattern of conduct of the stalking with light. So I'm going to document these license plates. It's currently 7:22 a.m. License 9KMR564, and this is driven by an African male. And he looks to be probably engaged in the security
like he's a security guard or something, and that's terrorizing. He's a gang stalker, and this is somebody that is supposed to be providing security. But again, whatever venue he's providing security services for, they're gang stalking as well. But nonetheless, he's operating a Toyota Camry, stalking in the path as I'm walking what is south on Laurel at 5:49 a.m. and he is stalking in the path, license 9KMR564. And across the street is the white Ford Mustang, who turn off their headlights. You can see me take a picture. This is when they are anticipating. That's a demon that's monitoring, and that's also, that knowledge is pertaining to my vagina while they're monitoring in bathrooms. These are sex offenders that are simultaneously being exposed. And this is a sex offense that's committed by an entity. The government and businesses are going to be prosecuted for being sex offenders as well. But nonetheless, this third party turns off their headlights. They're seated in that vehicle. They're stalking in the path surrounding with light activity. And this is an unlawful threat. This is psychological torture that the entity is committing while they are targeting with the state. And this is captured at 5:49 a.m. across the street. And I just documented license 8D42813. This is another third party that is relevant to gang stalking, because you can go ahead and document the entire apartment complex, because they're all gang stalking. So while the entity is engaging what is targeting me with one, another turns off their headlights, I documented the adjacent license plate. That's a third party that's gang stalking as well in relevant position. It's just these third parties that are using their vehicles to stalk in the path with light. And those are the pitfalls of targeting as an entity, by the way. Everybody else is getting in trouble as well. So as the entity in the Ford Mustang turns off their headlights, and then they proceed to back out of the parking lot instead of driving forward, which would have provided crossing path, driving on Laurel by me, so I can get that license plate if they were to do that, but they didn't. They backed out of the parking lot. They reversed into the street onto F Street and proceeded to drive west on F Street and south on Laurel. And in doing so, avoiding being documented by license plate. I'm documenting an entity. And what that third party is doing is exactly what they're doing in Starbucks. This is Elena walking out of the bathroom while a third party simultaneously parks on the sidewalk, which is the use of the lights on that vehicle, which is stalking in the path with light activity. They can do it as one person together using a vehicle. You can do it with multiple parties together. You can have the demons of Brightview stalking with light activity, flashing light, and you can have the demons inside of the cafe walking all around, which is stalking in the path, and so is Brightview that's in use of that vehicle. The vehicle is a method of light activity. The person operating that vehicle is in relevant position. The demons inside of the cafe, who are distinct from that vehicle, they're not operating that vehicle, but they're sharing in the elements of light activity, both while they pace around and engineer light, and they're pacing around while that vehicle is a method of flashing light, and they're in my path doing so. Relevant positioning. While the entity is maintaining audible noise, it's the elements of monitoring. While I'm narrating it, it's the elements of monitoring. This is how the demon possessed are engaging in their pattern of conduct. These are demons, and that's demonic activity. This demonic activity is achieving what is monitoring. They're monitoring on communication devices. They're monitoring the physical movements of the person. They're monitoring on the venue of the internet. And they're doing so while you are subject to what is surveillance. That's surveillance. And the government's engaging in that same P.O.C. So you can break it apart, but they're always breaking it apart because the entity is sharing in it together. So this is what Elena is doing, walking out of the bathroom while a demon outside of the building is simultaneously parking in alignment to me, using the vehicles on the light on that vehicle as they slow down and use the brakes and park at the same time that Elena is walking out, crossing path and doing so. That's the demonic synchronicity. They're doing the same thing when the fake sun is shining. They're walking in, shadow activity, their shadows created, that's light activity, while they're crossing path. They're accomplishing the elements of monitoring. And they're doing that as a whole entity. A bunch of demons are pacing around me day and night. That's what you're witnessing. This is Satan, who is the spirit of mental illness, actually. Psychopaths that are going around in circles, that Looney Tune mindset, that wacky, sick mind that's obsessed with me, it's working in all of the entity, and all they're doing is going around in circles around me all day long. That's what they're doing. So this is, again, mental illness that's put at the forefront, and I'm going to prosecute you because that demon wants to conceal its mental illness behind a logo such as Starbucks, behind a barista apron, behind a department logo like the Ontario Police, behind a position such as mayor, behind a position such as a municipal employee, while they're engaging in the pattern of conduct. There's no hiding, and I'm going to prosecute you. And it's also relevant for diagnosing your actual mental illness. It's directly relevant that the entity seeks to create the illusion of mental illness of the targeted individual while the entity is actually the one suffering from severe mental illness. Satan is using these people like uncompensated prostitutes, and they look crazy. All right. This is the entity that sought to conceal itself. This entity that's engaged in this pattern of conduct, it's a very thin veil. You can see they're crazy in plain view. It's dripping, it's flying, it's all over the place. All right. So it is currently 7:27 a.m. Let me go ahead and read the rest of these license plates as this demon in the white Ford Mustang proceeds to scurry out of the line of vision and avoiding being documented by license plate, which is again the short-sightedness of the entity. I'm documenting an entire state. So while you participate and you're a coward running away, I can get your license plate. I don't need your license plate. I'm prosecuting the whole state of California. That police department is being disbanded, by the way, that crosses path in that same scene at 5:50 a.m., which is also relevant when they're monitoring my vagina. Guess who else is engaged in that sex offense? The same police department that you see scurrying behind this Ford Mustang on Laurel and F Street at 5:50 in the morning. All right, it's the Ontario Police Department. Nobody's distracted by that. It's an admission that the Ontario Police are gang stalking. I don't need these demons to admit anything. I told you what they're doing before I had the evidence to prove it. I told you what they're doing. I've documented it and I kept telling you what they're doing. And I've proven through the evidence what they're doing. And I'm reminding you about what I said at the beginning, what they are doing. All they are doing is confirming that they're mentally ill as they engage in it. All they're doing is confirming all of the policies that I advocate pursuant to a government engaging in this conduct. Oh no, you're not staying in office. You're not staying in law enforcement. You're not staying in the medical profession. You will never enter into the medical profession. If I've come across you and documented you, you're not going into those fields either. You're going to be removed from them and you're going to be blocked from them. It's going on your criminal record. The fact that you engage in domestic terrorism with a corrupt government of a satanic nature. To cause suffering of American citizens, innocent American citizens, that you thought was so classified that no one was ever going to, that's a malicious psychopath. All right, so this is the Ontario Police gang stalking at 5:50 as the entity is stalking in the path with light, and Ontario Police are stalking in the path as well. The entity is engaging in the P.O.C. as you can see me approaching the parking lot, and you will see the third party license 6HOJ821 sitting in the vehicle stalking in the path as I'm approaching. And you will see the demon in the parking lot of Starbucks. Nobody in the drive-thru. It's the same P.O.C. when I'm walking up, however, and they're using the drive-thru as a means of crossing path and light activities. So today, and it's always relevant. That's why I'm pointing out what I documented in the last 48 hours, because the demons sit back and they listen to me expose their tactics, and that's exactly what they're doing, and they engage in the same thing. And so I'm letting you know how they committed the same exact pattern of conduct while they're listening to me and engaging in it in a different method. And there's no getting out of the pattern of conduct. And you're admitting that you're engaged in surveillance while you engage in that highly unintelligent demonstration of obsession with me while you're still stalking and you know that your secrets are exposed. But nonetheless, like I said, this is my job, just exposing. And so that's what I'll do. But it is, again, the only thing that's exhausting is those who are inferior that engage in targeting. And I'm looking at, well, why would you do that? I know why you're doing it, because you're sick. But no, and this is proof that you're sick, because no sane person would provide this level of evidence against themselves. They would expose themselves to that, because typically the person that's engaging in criminal conduct, they don't want to get in trouble for it. Okay, they don't want to be caught for it. And somebody that has any level of sanity stops before it gets bigger than what they anticipated. They would like to get away with the robbery if they can. That's the purpose of it, to avoid being prosecuted for robbery. The entity that's gang stalking has decided to continuously gang stalk until the day that they are pinned down in a raid and that they're subject to arrest and that they're put in cages till the day they're sitting in court. And my documentation, the purpose of my documentation is to be present and to document with evidence the fact that until the very moment that they were standing in court, until the very moment where they were in that tribunal, in that environment, they continuously were gang stalking as an entity until that very last second, which is directly relevant to the punishment, to the prosecution, to the damages, etc. That's my purpose. All right, so the entities engaging in this and the demons at the venue stalking in the path, which is shared by the demons at Starbucks. And so that is, again, license 60J821. And I documented the demon in the gray K5 Kia that's parked in the parking lot, which is stalking in the path. As I'm crossing path, as I am crossing path with them because they're stalking me. I'm not crossing path because I'm not gang stalking. Crossing path is pursuant to somebody that is I always liken it to basketball, if you're familiar with the sport. When you are going with the basketball, when you have the ball and somebody is trying to block your path, trying to stop you from putting the ball in the basket. This is what the demon possessed are doing while they are stalking in the path. They are maintaining somebody always being present in your path. They do so very passive aggressively, which is relevant to mental illness. So they're doing so by sitting in their vehicle with the headlights on. They're stalking in the path with light activity. This is happening on a large scale when the fake sun is over me and I'm approaching the Starbucks and everybody is stalking with light in the path, and everybody is stalking me while the fake sun is over me as I approach that venue. And it's in pure defiance of common sense, logic, science, and nature, while the entity does so at all hours of the day under a fake sun at the same, like I've been documenting here. So this is the entity doing so, using what they have at their disposal, getting in their cars and stalking with light in the path. And this is what the employees are doing in the parking lot as I'm approaching the venue. And so as I walk in, you'll see surveillance, a male, and these are demons that are engaging in the premeditated and anticipated engagement in bathroom monitoring, wanting to monitor my vagina. This is what I am reasonably going to engage in, use of the private space. And this is what an entity is doing altogether. They choose these two dudes who are demon possessed to maintain present at opposite ends of the cafe. That's for purposes of surrounding. And as remember, not only is this the target individual's environment, they're not this level of awareness, but even if there is, whether there is or there isn't, this is terrorism. I am itemizing it in order to make sure that it is recognized and appreciated, because this is how a government is going to be prosecuted for harassment, for terrorism. And this is domestic terrorism, while a bunch of stalkers are obsessively following you around everywhere that you're going, including inside of the building. Remember, they're remaining present at opposite ends of the cafe and engineer light. When I hold my hand up over the table, my hand has multiple shadows. They're stalking inside of the cafe, and so are the employees. All right, so this is for purposes of surrounding, and this is in anticipation of monitoring my vagina, okay? They're doing so as I walk in at 5:54 a.m. So the entity is engaging in this, and as I document that, you have one of them that walk outside, engaging in surveillance, standing in position outside of the venue. So this is essentially the entity that's following, as I document the entity maintaining light activity as I walk to the Starbucks. And just want to point out, the entity is not deviating from the pattern of conduct of meeting. You're meeting step by step as you stalk in the path with using your headlights. And they're also meeting when they engage in what is pacing all around me as I'm walking around and documenting. And the entity is meeting at the drive-through of that Starbucks. Starbucks is going to be prosecuted. Starbucks is a corrupt company that's monitoring American citizens in the United States. I'm exposing it in California, and that's why every single Starbucks that I have been to are engaging in this unprecedented level of psychological torture, the sex offense of molestation with impossible light activity, the terrorism of gang stalking with the population and with the government, engaging in what is harassment and obstruction of justice while they are monitoring you and your evidence, because they're engaged in federal stalking. The pattern of conduct showing Starbucks as I isolate that company, which you're not isolating anything when you're documenting the public entity, but my documentation is so thorough, I can document, and I can expose the entity by company, all right, that are engaging in what is a supernatural pattern of conduct. It's impossible for me to make that up, and it's impossible for different cafes to engage in the same pattern of conduct. That's impossible as well. So like I said, this is P.O.C. It's currently 7:36 a.m. and the entity is monitoring in real time while I'm documenting, which is going to the obsession. It's relevant to the mental illness of the entity that is gang stalking. This is the sex offender that's monitoring my vagina in every bathroom, including when I was inside of Tracy Banks's apartment. She's an incestuous sex offender monitoring my vagina as the same people of the state. She's a pedophile, engaged in grooming me when I was a child, engaged in what is showing me things like pornographic films while she's engaged in pedophilia, engaged in sexual violence with me with her gang stalking ex-husband Tommy Allen Banks, who committed kidnapping as an entity with the same Ontario Police Department in August of 2019. She is a career pedophile. She's a career sex offender, and the pattern of conduct of federal group stalking and monitoring is shared by her as well. She's engaged in sexual violence while she's gang stalking in the same way that the entity that is gang stalking is engaged in an exceedingly violent sex offense. It is in conformity to the dysfunction of a sex offender like Tracy Banks, who was monitoring my vagina with the rest of the public. And to expose your own child, I'm an adult obviously, but to expose your own relative to that level of violence is also speaking to her severe mental illness, okay? And she she does that with males and females alike while she's engaged in the malicious pattern of conduct, and that's why she's going to federal prison. Amongst those who are also gang stalking as police officers who are exposed as sex offenders, monitoring, those who are engaged in kidnapping, as I've documented, they're going to federal prison. And this is that big picture with regard to that P.O.C, the sex offenders that are stalking obsessively while they monitor you with light. It's currently 7:37 a.m. This is P.O.C. License plate 7WHE252. Six NOR 814. And license plate 05363F1. License 9MOT762. License 9TWU559. This is Brightview, which is a third party. This is the license plate, license 21528D4. Brightview Landscape Services, California number 0081686. The use of a business license, the use of a business to engage in criminal monitoring with the government. That's an unlawful abuse of such licensure, and it's relevant in the prosecution of the state. Alrighty, it is 9:09 a.m. and what you are witnessing is the pathetic engagement in what is an entity, a city, a state, gang stalking under a fake sun and amongst engineered light. This is the same demonic entity that drives by and impulsive light flies through, and then they come in and sit all around, and Starbucks is bursting with business while they're gang stalking with the people of the state. This is again focusing on coming into the cafe where the typical business of Starbucks and any restaurant, except for sit-down, formal restaurants, the coming in and sitting in and hanging out in a cafe. This is an entity that's engaged in the P.O.C with regard to focusing presence where I'm located, and because I'm sitting inside, this is where the entity is focusing on its presence. And you're looking at a population that comes in based on as I upload the evidence coming in and walking in and out and engaging in surveillance. You're seeing me documenting the demons that are sitting in the parking lot, sitting in the the curb, which is on Euclid Avenue, in alignment to me while I'm uploading the podcast, while I'm uploading the documentation. As soon as I finish uploading, they're entering in. The city of Ontario is gang stalking in alignment with the dumpster truck at Chevron, stalking in the path with the method of flashing light. And you're looking at the fake sun that is still over in the same manner that you see it as I documented at 9. It's still over the same sidewalk, over the same entrance at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, where the entity is. Again, that's just an example of gang stalking. City of Ontario crossing path as I walk outside, license 1678291. This is Paul Leon's criminal engagement. The municipality is engaged in state surveillance, and they're also sex offenders monitoring genitalia in the City of Ontario using the resources of the municipality to engage in that sex offense. 7THX757, 9SXZ257, 7VMF976, and 8UQJ918 is the Starbucks employee that was gang stalking with light as I was walking to this venue. And recall yesterday as I document the license plates in this location, the Ontario Police Department sounded helicopter activity. This is the same entity that's gang stalking under the fake sun with the same City of Ontario, using the municipality, using the airport, using the police department, using the fire department. This is that same entity, and the people of the state who are being bullied and overwhelmed with evidence. They're being prosecuted and they're being exposed as the tutorial as to how the U.S. government is monitoring, targeting American citizens in this country. And California is going to be made an example of. This is severe mental illness, while the demon possessed, all of whom secrets are exposed, are engaging in stalking one person, and that one person has fully exposed them and prosecuted them as well. Especially while I embarrass them and publish it on the internet. 6ZEU331, they're all under a fake sun, which is relevant to the mental illness of the demon possessed population. 5WCE023, 8KZE551, 9MHV520. Ontario Police gang stalking, crossing path at Euclid and F Street. They're engaging in what is stalking at the stoplight. License 8TSG 715, license 7MJH 796. Remember, Ontario Police are gang stalking under the fake sun at 11:09 a.m. where they're stalking at the UNICARE Community Center right now, engaged in what is criminal summoning. Let me read you this third party's license plate because that's federal prison. They're under the fake sun. They're engaged in criminal summoning at 11:08 a.m. Excuse me. That's the proper time. Ontario license 1591659. They're monitoring with the demons at Pace and surround inside of the Starbucks. License ISH4X4 is gang stalking with the Ontario Police using criminal summoning as the fake sun is directly over the Starbucks. That's third party conduct. That's federal prison. License 91631X1 is crossing path while they're engaged in criminal summoning, while they're using the vehicles as a method of stalking with light, and they're doing so under the fake sun. Hi, you know who I am? Hi. What's your badge number? Yeah. 80515? You sure? Okay. What about yours? 20999? Thank you. You guys got a traffic stop or something over here? Oh, just chilling while the Ontario International Airport's flying over? That's P.O.C. It's 9:13 a.m. The fake sun is directly over while they're just chilling, and they're monitoring across the street a relevant position while the people of the state who I documented in images are surrounding. They're engaged in federal stalking. Let me show you the fake sun right now. All right, focusing their attention on the people of the state is the entity's lack of ideas with regard to gang stalking. Ontario Police License 1680795, Latino male, vehicle 1106, that's federal prison. A vehicle 1122, license 1697700, that's federal prison while they're gang stalking under the fake sun. All right, this is the conduct of the entity that's surrounded by evidence. And what do the psychopaths engage in? They provide more evidence for the federal government to disband them and place the people of the state in federal prison. License 8LCR 421, 9RED 554, 8MUC 536. And the entity engaging in what is surfacing in the specific environment. Remember, I have a body of evidence documenting the entity. I went around and documented a whole bunch of license plates. So the entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct while the gang stalkers of the Ontario Police who are being disbanded, they're in the line of vision to communicate an unlawful threat. So I'm going to proceed to document the people of the state and every business, every third party that's engaged in this P.O.C. They're subject to federal prison. This is what you need to understand. You're not going to engage in what is threatening the target individual, an American citizen who has a right to not be kept under surveillance where the government has no constitutional right to do so. And the entity is exposing mental illness of the Ontario Police, the entity that's gang stalking. Those demons that you see inside of the cafe as I'm taking pictures of them, they're engaging what is gang stalk with Ontario Police who are across the street monitoring with them. That's federal prison. And again, Vince is in there gang stalking. Elena and Alana are in there gang stalking. This is audible activity while they're engaging what is use of the speaker, P.O.C. Let me get
Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C., and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. Alrighty, this is the fake sign right over me. License 1591659, vehicle 1021. They're stalking in the path. You'll see the images that I'm taking while I am inside of the cafe. The fake sign is over the entrance side of the cafe. It's no longer. That's how you know the police are stalking. That's how you know they're all stalking, but they're being disbanded.
They engage in kidnapping while gang stalking with the people. This is the entity that's Corey Watson. You already know he's under the 633 name Fake Sun while he's in that cafe and the demons opening up and closing the door, stalk with impossible light. The entity is engaged in the pattern of conduct with knowledge of the evidence, the probative evidence, the wealth, the surplus of evidence, while the people of the state are engaging in monitoring. While they're walking in the cafe, they create light activity while the Fake Sun is over the windows that are along Euclid, not adjacent to the UNICARE Community Center. If it was over here, then I wouldn't get it, while they're stalking in and out of the bathroom, pacing around me. The Ontario Police, Corey Watson's going to federal prison, and so are the demons that I just documented going inside of the venue. This is exactly what the entity is going to be prosecuted for when you're understanding gang stalking and the ongoing psychological torture and the unlawful threatening conduct and intimidation tactics of the mentally ill psychopaths who are monitoring American citizens like the Ontario Police Department are. And while they're gang stalking, they've committed multiple kidnappings. And these kidnappings that they've committed is pursuant to the criminal monitoring system that they're engaging in. This same Starbucks, I'm capturing the Fake Sun at 6 o'clock in the evening, where it's right here over me right now at 9:17 a.m. And the entity is engaging what is police presence under the false idea, the delusional notion that it's going to be anything other than federal prison for every gang stalking police officer and the people of the state that are monitoring with them. All right, this is pacing. They're walking under the Fake Sun that's remaining over me, and that's how population is gang stalking you. And they know who you are. They're not strangers. And this is also demon possession. And the fact that the Ontario Police Department are demon possessed is also why they're being removed from law enforcement. I want to be clear. The entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct. 8JQM704 is a demon, impossible light across the asphalt while they cross path. And this is ongoing pacing as on an ongoing basis by the entity. Okay. This is the entity that is inside of the cafe. So what you're going to look at is the images that I captured right before I walk outside. The entity that's walking in, the city of Ontario that's gang stalking at Chevron with the trash, dumpster truck flashing of light while I'm uploading what I'm doing online is relevant to their surrounding with light activity and then entering into the venue. And they rapidly enter into the venue as I publish my podcast. I'm documenting the rush of a group inside of the venue and the engineer light inside of the cafe. The Fake Sun is not over this building. It is outside of the window in alignment to me where I'm positioned. And the entity is maintaining presence while the Ontario police are surrounding outside. Okay. The entity is engaged in this P.O.C. And again, the impunity that's exhibited by demons, badge number 80548, Corey Watson is going to federal prison. So is C. Torres, Nathan Morgan, B. Hook, Corporal Tedosky, who's engaged in gang stalking under the same exact specific environment where at nightfall impossible light is surrounding. And he's engaging in a traffic stop under in the specific environment, which is criminal monitoring. That's exactly what you just witnessed right now. Every gang stalking police officer is going to federal prison. The Ontario police is being disbanded. That's what you're witnessing right now. And this is the evidence supporting it, and why demons like Corey Watson and Nathan Morgan, third parties like Tracy Banks, Jason Isaac Phillips, this is why they belong in federal prison. This is criminal monitoring, it's targeting, it's pursuant to surveillance, and the ongoing asininity of doing it under the obvious evidence of what is the supernatural environment. That which is over me here is not possibly the natural environment where LAPD is gang stalking me while I'm documenting from February until July of 2024. And I maintain my documentation to the present, where the entity is keeping a specific environment where the people of the state are systematically monitoring. That's light activity, relevant positioning. The entity does so where the Ontario International Airport is deviating from any terminals to aid in criminal monitoring with them and concentrating. Starbucks is profiting from it. And that's why the employees are subject to federal prison. They intentionally, knowingly, and continuously do so, especially why the Ontario Police Department enters the venue and doing so knowledgeable about the evidence that I publish. Okay? So this is relevant to the mental illness. This is relevant to the policies surrounding what is already a complete investigation. Evidence which is supporting the prosecution of the state of California. It is currently 9:20 a.m. This is the Fake Sun. The entity covering up the Fake Sun yesterday as I went to the OVITT Family Community Library, if you recall that. And then at 10:20 a.m., it's over the entrance of the OVITT Family Community Library at 215 E.C. Street. This is the entity that's keeping a Fake Sun over Euclid Avenue, where I remain from Starbucks, 507 North Euclid Avenue to 215 E.C. Street, which is 0.4 miles, where the entity is keeping the Fake Sun for the duration of the day. And that's where the Ontario police is gang stalking and using the resources of a police department, their vehicles, they're using helicopters to engage in gang stalking, they're using the airplanes, and they're using the population who are there. This is the same condition. This is pacing by demons under a Fake Sun. And that's why when they're driving by on Euclid, impossible light is flying all in through the venue because they know exactly who I am. And that knowledge is proven through that supernatural environment. License DE60T12 paper 8VKS353. P.O.C. This entire venue right here, this is a medical center. They're engaged in gang stalking. That's why the fake sun is over me as I am remaining. This is the entity that has the fake sun over this venue, like I documented already, like I stated, in the afternoon and in the evening, where the same Ontario Police Department, the evidence of the police is going to be used to disband them. They're stalking in the path at 6 in the evening, where the fake sun is still over me at this venue. They're stalking in the path right now at 9 in the morning. They're stalking in the path while engaging what is loitering in relevant position in the face of the targeted individual, communicating an unlawful threat, which is intolerable under federal law with regard to terrorists of corrupt police departments that are acting in furtherance of murder and kidnapping. That's why the police are gang stalking. And they're going to be subject to federal prison for that. And the evidence is surrounding the Ontario Police with regard to pointing out that entity, that aspect of the entity's basis of disbanding in federal prison, but also with regard to prosecuting the people of the state who are systematically monitoring. And that's what this is, 8MUN124. That's what this environment facilitates. And this is public corruption. That's what this is exposing, public corruption. It is currently, again, 9:22 a.m. They're engaged in what is monitoring me, the Ontario Police that are in position here, the Ontario Police that cross path and park in the parking lot, and they even enter into the venue. Again, this is an entity that is delusional, and their mental illness is exhibited while they are stalking, and doing so in the manner in which I documented on podcast. This is where the Ontario International Airport flew over right here. This is where the fake sun is documented remaining in the afternoon while the Ontario International Airport engages in the exact same thing, stalking in planes far from any terminals, evidence of what is targeting, walking into the venue and in the face of evidence which is revealing the pattern of conduct in conformity to multiple police departments engaging in the same exact pattern of conduct, and they're doing so in that specific environment. And that disdain, that disregard, that defiant spirit that's relevant to mental illness. Corey Watson is a demon, and so is his partner that's walking into the venue. They're under the 6 a.m. fake sun, and they're present under in the natural environment in Florida. There's no sun where I'm documenting the pattern of conduct in Ontario, California. All right, this is P.O.C. Corey Watson is engaged in relevant positioning. This is light activity. This is also communication of a threat while a police department is gang stalking. That's badge number 80408. He is kidnapping on June 16, 2022. He is present, focused on me, making a purchase at the facilitating venue. Is the evidence of that? It's recognizing malice, and they're going to prison for that. I documented that on my podcast, and they're engaged in criminal summoning with the demons that were already here in position. As I walk out and the entity starts shining its fake sun even brighter, this is a totally engineered environment, and that's how you know that they're targeting you and they're psychopaths, because the entity is engaging what is that passive aggressive system where public corruption is happening in plain sight. All right, keeping your back to you. They don't have to acknowledge you under the fake sun. They don't have to acknowledge you in the engineered light. But a gang stalking police department that creates ongoing manufactured information in order to kidnap you under law that they have no authority under, you're witnessing their mental illness while they're gang stalking with the demons. You already know that they're demons. They're stalking with impossible light day and night. It's P.O.C. It's currently 9:24 a.m. This is the disbanding of the Ontario Police Department. Alrighty, I did break into video in order to document the entity engaging in what is a tactic. Engaging in what is threatening conduct is not that's going to exacerbate the penalties of gang stalking. But I'm going to document the people of the state because they engage in this as I am documenting this entire parking lot. So the Ontario Police are present gang stalking pursuant to real-time, ongoing, ceaseless knowledge about every syllable that I utter, and engaging in what is gang stalking with the Ontario Police, who are clearly not counting on having any sort of legitimacy, any sort of argument, any sort of appearance of anything other than psychopaths and sex offenders and stalkers as a police department, are present in the path, and it's incriminating the people of the state. It's not going to stop me from documenting their license plates, and it's relevant to federal prison. Everybody that's in this fake church, in this Starbucks, in this health center, the entity flies over by a commercial plane, surrounds by police, that's federal prison. All the employees on the job right now at Starbucks, they're in engineered light and under the fake sun. License 8EWF035. Remember, the entity sounds helicopter activity yesterday as I document. Today, the entity engaged in what is gang stalking with the same police department, a terrorist organization, and a bunch of demons who are being disbanded by maintaining presence, visible presence, and that's supposed to disincentivize, deter you. That for the ordinary target individual, that is, again, that which is deterring them from documentation. With regard to creating precedent, the entity is going to federal prison for that. And so they come, and I'm still going to document the people. This is the mental illness. You're focused on me. You're stalking me. I'm exposing your secrets, so you're no longer secretly doing it. You just gained a time in federal prison. You're already being disbanded, and I'm still going to prosecute the people, and I'm going to document them by license plate because they're sharing in that unlawful threat, and they are engaging in what is the psychopathic pattern of conduct together with knowledge that they're being documented. Gang stalking with that corrupt police department is the last thing that you would do if you weren't a mentally ill psychopath. 7ZDW186. License 9TOD099, 8WSF187. This is exactly why Tracy Banks is going to federal prison. This is exactly why Jason Isaac Fields are subject to federal prison. Gang stalking with police departments in furtherance of murder and kidnapping. And kidnapping is pursuant to criminal defamation. The fire department gang stalking under the fake sun at Laurel and East Street. License plate. That's an African-American male, license 1516115, vehicle 775 at 9:26 a.m. 71476M1. This is the UNICARE Community Health Center where the fake sun is over me. You're seeing the fake sun over me while I'm at this same Starbucks, which is across the street from the same healthcare center at 1 o'clock in the afternoon when I'm going well, actually when I'm just stepping out and getting video and remaining at the venue, but also when I'm leaving the venue and I capture the documentation of the fake sun. And I just captured video of them gang stalking me with the police with the intent to obstruct justice. Everybody wearing scrubs is subject to federal prison. Do you understand that? License 78850H3, license ELJA138, 6PJC973, 9AOL919, 8XDX556, 9FZW286, 9AAJ378, 8UVY505, 6NIT039, 8UNV179, 8PRW285, 8JFV684, 8RKD290, 91631X1, and this is the one that was engaged in loitering, stalking with the Ontario Police, which I document on podcast, ISH4X4, and I've documented that third party before, 9LUCKY3, 6WCG160, 8RKD290. And while the fake sun's remaining over me while I walk through this parking lot, it's a clear deviation from remaining over the window inside a Starbucks along Euclid Avenue, where the people of the state are pacing in and out of the bathroom as their shadows are casted on the inside of the cafe while they're gang stalking me and exhibiting severe mental illness while they're pacing. All right, like a demon possessed, which is a mentally ill population, stalking one person. 8KKM308, 8XSF498, 8PQY198, 8MZD164, 8TST579, in case I didn't read that one. License 69548E4, 3GFT06720330T1. And this is the parking lot where the Ontario International Airport just flew over. While the Ontario police are in your presence, this is exactly what Jason Knighton and Lester Keys engaged in when they committed kidnapping in January of 2020. And the Ontario National Airport is seen on my images that I'm capturing, documenting the P.O.C. while they're engaged in kidnapping. And they're doing so with the intent to obstruct justice. And so they commit kidnapping to obstruct justice. While they commit a battery, Jason Knighton commits battery in doing so. And then manufactures charges stating that I'm violating the law in no way whatsoever. And he is doing so while the Ontario International Airport is hovering over the 7-Eleven at 636 North Vine Avenue, where there's also no terminals. There's no explanation for the plane activity. You won't hear the plane activity. You won't even see any planes flying over the 7-Eleven at G Street and Vine, where I'm routinely documenting them gang stalking me. I documented it last night by commercial planes when they're flying over 325 West G Street. There are no terminals. The two terminals at the Ontario International Airport are addressed at 2900 Airport Drive and 2500 Airport Drive, where you are making a sharp incline into the sky from the airport at those two terminals. There is no plane that is hovering over any home or business like 7-Eleven at 636 North Vine Avenue, which is northwest, over 5 miles from the airport. At that elevation, at that volume level, they're engaged in kidnapping as an airport. They are being removed from existence. The entity is gang stalking me with the police, which is a documented pattern while they're gang stalking me. License 7UTA 642, 9CJF 343, 6MSG 887, 9BMB 899, 9ALW 324, 9DRC 048, 8LKA 753, 6VEF 294, 9DJG 985, 7RMU 145, 9RXF 616, 9GZP 454. It is currently 9:30 a.m. So let me show you the fake sun while I'm at the UNICARE Community Health Center that just committed an unlawful threat. This is the medical profession that's gang stalking. These are psychopaths engaged in psychological torture. This is antithetical to being engaged in the practice of medicine at any level. At any level. This is Arrowhead Regional Medical Center that's engaging in the same pattern of conduct, gang stalking while in the medical profession, but they're also documented engaged in kidnapping. And as you understand the bigger picture of what is the state of California that's targeting, UNICARE Community Health Center committed kidnapping. This is an entity that committed kidnapping with the intent to criminally defame me. And Arrowhead Regional Medical Center is just the specific actor within that entity that committed that. That's why UNICARE Community Health Center is committing the same pattern of conduct as the same entity in the same specific environment, where it's not the natural environment where the sun's over the top of my head. But let me show you this at 123 Laurel. Yeah, 123 Laurel. Or it's at the intersection of Laurel and East Street. I'll confirm it on Google Maps in a second. But it's 123 either East Street or 123 Laurel. This is the entity that's gang stalking, and the fake sun is over me. Now I'm on the opposite side of E, where Starbucks is on the opposite side. There's no sun that's remaining through the window. As I sit in that cafe and I don't move, and the entity keeps the fake sun from 6 in the morning until approximately after 10, and then you're seeing it as I then walk out to get it on the sidewalk, because the entity keeps it there until 6 p.m. As you're looking at an illusion, the shadow of the building of Starbucks is flat on the ground and it extends into the street, and as I go beyond that impossible light, the entity is keeping the fake sun. It's over the same roof, over the same sidewalk. As at an early hour, it's 9:32, I'm not sitting inside of the cafe. If that's the sun outside of the window where those demons, employees, and patrons alike are gang stalking, then it wouldn't be over UNICARE when I'm on the opposite side of the building, because I can't see what's on this side of this parking lot through the Starbucks window of 507 Euclid Avenue, facing the direction which is facing east. I can't see that from here. I'm gonna go ahead and take a picture of this though. This is the entity that is gang stalking, proven through the specific environment. All right, you will see that fake sun over me in the presence of third-party ELJA138, UNICARE CHC parking, 6PJC973, UNICARE CHC parking, 9AOL919, UNICARE CHC parking, 8XDX556, UNICARE CHC parking, 9FZW286, UNICARE CHC parking, 9AAJ378, UNICARE CHC parking, 8UVY505, UNICARE CHC parking, 6NIT039, UNICARE CHC parking, 8UNV179, UNICARE CHC parking. They're a bunch of gang stalking demons wearing scrubs, and they're to be removed from the medical profession. They just engage in what is an unlawful threat with the state, gang stalking with the police, because these demons that are keeping me under surveillance know that I documented license plates yesterday, but what they fail to recognize as the intellectually impotent psychopaths that they are, the demons that they are, that lack self-control and clearly do not learn. You don't threaten me. I will document everybody. I will document more. And you will go to federal prison for gang stalking with the police. This is a uniform policy. And the entity is doing so while I'm capturing the Ontario police, crossing path 4ERN715, making sure somebody is maintaining presence, still stalking, and so is the UNICARE CHC. Okay, they're gang stalking with the demons that are pacing in the parking lot under the fake sun. And this is where the entity is concentrating that pacing behavior, which you are able to see and witness while a fake sun remains over me. These demons that are in the medical profession, they're losing that accredited status. They're losing that licensure. They're losing the ability to be in that field. They are engaged in what is kidnapping, criminal defamation, psychological torture, including while they're gang stalking me and I'm inside of Starbucks. They're monitoring my vagina. All right, while they're gang stalking me and I remain in Starbucks. They're monitoring while I'm in the bathroom. I limit it to, because I'm not limiting it to, but I concentrate on the demons that are inside of the cafe. The pattern of conduct is not limited to Starbucks at 507. The demons across the street, like Chevron, that's why they're gang stalking with flashing light with the city of Ontario in alignment to me. That's a pattern of conduct, and the entity is gang stalking. The Ontario police maintaining presence at the Chevron at 11:54 a.m. How was the sun over me in the presence of these demons in the natural environment? The entity is gang stalking with the UNICARE CHC, the gang stalking with Chevron at 501, I believe is the address, North Euclid Avenue. They're gang stalking while they're using helicopters over me at this venue at Starbucks. They're gang stalking while they're crossing paths with the same demon stalking with impossible light. And I have all of it on the record. And those unintelligent criminals who are, again, surrounded with evidence that is insurmountable, they're engaging in what is providing more direct evidence, more obvious, plain evidence that is disbanding that police department and prosecuting the people of the state who have the audacity to threaten you. And this is what they do to the ordinary targeted individual that lacks evidence. that lacks the ability to prove it. Not only the fact that a population is targeting you, but that there are a bunch of demons targeting you in satanic ways that you can't even articulate because you don't understand what the hell is that. Excuse my French. Because they're demons, they're psychopaths. They're sex offenders and they're stalkers. And that is the entire entity, including those that are engaged in the pattern of conduct at medical facilities like Arrowhead Regional Medical Center and UNICARE CHC. This is P.O.C. It's currently 9:36 a.m. Is that the entity sounding helicopter? Because I just documented all these license plates. They're all inside of this building gang stalking me right now, and I have them on video while the Ontario police are outside of their building, their venue, gang stalking me, which is proven through an environment that is irreconcilable with nature. And neither can LAPD help them when they're gang stalking me at the same time of year, even on the same day, in the specific environment under a fake sun. So as I hear helicopter activity, the people of the state, including license 78850H3, who is gang stalking right now, is subject to federal prison. License RXY3391, that's a Texas plate, pacing with license 1HUEN 538. That's a Washington plate. That's a Caucasian male driving an Infiniti, stalking in the path, driving into the parking lot under the fake sun. It's currently 9:37 a.m. This is P.O.C. I'm licensed 9GZP454, 9DJG. Oh no, I documented these. 9DJG985, 9RXF616. I did document this. Let me go to the other part of the parking lot. And this is documenting those that are associated with the UNICARE. License 7FAS739, a psychopath that's stalking me, and that is evident not through them keeping their face toward the road and not looking at you and you not knowing them. They're doing so while a fake sun remains over you and impossible light reaches toward me, which is not the product of sunlight when you're driving under the sun in a natural environment either. The entity's unintelligent pattern of conduct is what is exposing all of them. License 9ANY604 is also targeting me. License 9ROC869, 9AIG366, 8JPD883, 9PMR652, 9RPW155, 4EZW863, 7KZT701, 7VYT374, 4ERN715, 4MXS100, 04912H3, 8SNV302, 1UN538, which is a California plate. It's not a Washington. It looks like the blue and white Washington plate. That's a California plate. It's a Caucasian male engaging in surveillance while you hear amplified audible activity and the fake sun is over my head. License 1UN538. 8SNV302, 14577F3, 9NGU775, 7TJE121, 9LUL296, 6ADS879. Any gang stalking immigrants are subject to deportation. The entities engaged in this pattern of conduct, and I have extensive documentation beyond 2025 of stalking under a fake sun, which is criminal conduct of the entity, the public entity, the mayor, Paul Leon, the municipality, the police department, the fire department, the airport, gang stalking in the specific environment, day and night. That's what the fake sun is relevant. It's not just gang stalking during the day. The fake sun is letting you know what they're doing 24 hours a day. 6NSJ164, 7YGD343, 8RFF149, 7SJK928. The entity's keeping this fake sun over me while I am documenting as of this is Gloria's Cochina Mexicana. This is E Street and what would be D? Yeah, E Street and D as in dog. I'm documenting the fake sun up and down. I've been documenting the city of Ontario for years, okay? What I just documented right now is relevant to what I documented in 2022, 2021, 2020, 2019, 2018, where I have the fake sun over me in the middle of the afternoon. It's morning time right now. The entity is gang stalking with the Ontario police. Don't forget what they're doing at what is 1 o'clock in the afternoon, where Ontario police, it's on video. I'm at this same U.S. bank at 9:41 in the morning, and they're gang stalking me with UPS, who's surrounding with light activity, and they're on video gang stalking, and I already published that on YouTube. And as I document, again, the entity is sounding helicopter activity. the entity is going to federal prison. That demon that's on video, gang stalking with UPS on video, is going to federal prison because the natural environment will never include at 9:41 a.m. And like I documented on that day, I will remind you about that video. It's the evidence on a whole playlist of fire departments, police departments, and those driving ambulances gang stalking as the fake sun reveals it, as the specific environment exposes it. The entity sounding helicopter at 9:42 a.m. And guess what? The gang stalker that's engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring on the date, I have to get the specific date, at 1 in the afternoon, and I'm at this same U.S. bank right now, is a Caucasian male. He had a trainee with him. I'm at this same location at 1 in the afternoon, and you're hearing the helicopter is the evidence to the whole world that Nathan Morgan engaged in kidnapping as well, and so did B. Hook, so did C. Torres, and so did Nathan Morgan, and they're going to federal prison, and so did Tracy Banks. Committed kidnapping with this entity that's stalking, and they're stalking pursuant to knowledge exactly about what happened in Tracy Banks' apartment, and it included no battery. Tracy Banks and the Ontario police that are stalking together, they engage in that conduct with the intent to kidnap and criminally defame. This is the Ontario Police Department that is gang stalking by helicopter, as I'm referring to this very video, which I will use to put to juxtapose the fake sun documentation, where the entity is monitoring you. The entity engages in what is threatening you in real time while you document their gang stalking tactics. And this is evidence of the sun not being over Starbucks, out of conformity with what I'm documenting while I remain at 507 North Euclid Avenue. This is the entity demonstrating mental illness while they're flying in circles over me, and they're also doing so while the gang stalkers of the Ontario police are gang stalking at the same bank at 1 in the afternoon when I'm coming from 507 North Euclid Avenue, where the fake sun remains over that Starbucks, and the people of the state are gang stalking at that Starbucks, like license 6 UEZ 369. Coming and engaging that P.O.C. with the Ontario police as I'm documenting on the afternoon, coming from the Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue, that police officer is stalking by parking in the path right here. He's with a trainee. This is what I was just documenting on podcast, but I want to get the entity gang stalk because like I stated, this is the case. Every gang stalking police officer is going to federal prison. And as I document, the entity is engaging what is stalking by going into a facilitating venue. You can just replace this with Starbucks, because that's exactly the same thing that they're doing. That's pacing. License 7PL002 did not forget anything. He's pacing back and forth under the fake sun around me. That's how you know that he's stalking me as well. And so is U.S. Bank, while the fake sun is over me at 1 in the afternoon, and doing so in concert with the UPS, who's documented gang stalking me, with LAPD as well. Well, the entity is gang stalking with the people of the state, who are subject to federal prison for targeting, like 6 UEZ 369, the people working inside a U.S. bank. These demons creating activity inside, in real time while the entity flies over by helicopter. And you're always going to pay attention to what you're listening to, as I just converted to video so you can see the Ontario police. This is what Corey Watson is engaging in by going to Starbucks under the fake sun. He's going to federal prison, badge number 80548. This is what those two demons on podcast gang stalking at the UNICARE Health Center. They're going to federal prison. And the people of the state are also intentionally maintaining presence in that path. This isn't traffic, it's activity creation. And the sun is not going to be over the same bank like I'm documenting 4 hours from now, like it is as I'm documenting the Ontario police stalking in the path as I'm walking on Euclid Avenue, coming from 507 North Euclid Avenue, the Starbucks, where the entity is moving the fake sun in real time. And I encountered the Ontario Police Department, who you see flying in helicopter right now, while I reference damning evidence as they keep me under surveillance, like my assertions and my evidence prove. And they're doing so in concert with the people of the state, who are also engaged in gang stalking. And they're doing so in an environment that gang stalking police officer is going to federal prison, as surely as the are flying in circles around me while the fake sun is remaining over me. And this is what they're doing at Woodside Senior Apartments, at Tracy Banks' apartment at 408 West G Street, apartment number 51, where the Ontario Police Department engages in the same pattern, flying in circles over that apartment building where the fake sun is remaining from sunrise until sunset. And that's also why this is not the natural environment. It will never be over U.S. Bank when I'm documenting it from sunrise to sunset. It's also the case when the entity, the LAPD, is doing so under a fake sun that remains over me from sunrise until sunset. And from sunset, it's in alignment with my bedroom in Los Angeles facing Alvarado, and my living room in the morning when I'm documenting over the hillside, when I'm documenting that fake sun that remains over me at one address for the duration of the day. Every gang stalking police officer, like I stated, is going to federal prison. And while you document, they are going to federal prison because the entity is engaged in that ongoing obsessive P.O.C. license 1697700. That's Corey Watson, who knows he's going to federal prison. His mental illness is put on full display. License plate This is not helping the people of the state. They're going to federal prison. 8N65563, that's a Latino male. The entity that's gang stalking with the people, gang stalking by helicopter, gang stalking while you're monitoring the evidence. Corey Watson crossing path. This is not a coincidence. No sane person, again, is going to expose this level. You're not just exposing yourself, you're exposing the department, you're exposing the airport, you're exposing the fire department, you're exposing the OVITT Family Community Library, you're exposing the people of the state of California, you're exposing what LAPD is engaging in, you're exposing what the Arcadia Police Department are engaging in, you're exposing what the Pasadena, the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department are engaging in, the gang stalking and the conformity to the pattern of conduct that I've been documenting. Corey Watson is engaged in stalking as a department while he is not coincidentally crossing paths, as I refer to his name, as I'm under the fake sun, as the entity flies over by helicopter. This is P.O.C. They are going to federal prison for repeatedly kidnapping. Mike Lorenz, Corey Watson, the entity is done with law enforcement, and they are being disbanded. And the people of the state are subject to federal prison for gang stalking with the police. W078BO. This is a corrupt entity, and it's also, again, exposing demon possession. All right, their mental illness, their ongoing obsession, their criminal endeavor to target one person together, which is proven to that environment. And passive-aggressive stalking is supposed to disprove that. That's ridiculousness. The entity is going to be prosecuted as well. And they're all gang stalking, engaging what is going to engage in banking, while the fake sun's not remaining over the Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue, which is what I'm documenting when I remain at that venue in the morning, okay? This is the entity following from place to place to place, which is psychopathic stalking, and it's also a sex offense, because W078BO is a sex offender monitoring my vagina. On behalf of that corrupt police department, evident through what is the maintenance of a fake sun, telling on all of that entity. This is P.O.C. This is the U.S. Bank on what is Euclid and E. And this is 9:48 a.m. This is P.O.C. All right, license 8LNX379. Crossing path, and that is extensive video of the entity gang stalking by helicopter. This is, again, direct evidence. None of this is circumstantial. As I make the allegation and I support it with evidence and then a surplus of evidence, I believe I have about 69, 70 videos post the kidnapping committed by this same gang stalking agency. And that is, again, what is substantial evidence with regard to what are unprecedented allegations, and it is impossible that I would have that amount. And that's just focusing on the post-kidnapping acts of gang stalking using helicopters and the resources of a corrupt police department who are exposed as being demon-possessed at that. The entities in providing what is, again, the inability to control themselves while they are stalking me with regard to the feckless efforts of harassing and terrorizing me using helicopters and stalking through the police department. As I document, the entity is engaging in what is more added proof that they are in fact gang stalking, which I don't even need, because 70 videos post kidnapping me on May 29th is substantial enough. All right, and that's in addition. That's just honing in on a particular point as I do a playlist of post-kidnapping gang stalking conduct. That's just honing in on a specific point. There is years of evidence of the Ontario police being demon-possessed and stalking me while doing so. That's the reason for their obsession with me, because they are in fact demons, and they exhibit that while they're stalking me under a whole fake sun. And that is the shared condition of the population that is gang stalking. All right, so as I continue walking south on Euclid Avenue, there's no sun remaining over the 507 North Euclid Avenue. It is exclusive. All right, the sun is not like the sky, maintaining ubiquitous presence over all of us perpetually, no matter what direction you're traveling in, no matter whether you don't travel or not, or whether you're in constant movement. For example, on the freeway, on the 2 in Glendale, and we're experiencing the same sky space. The sun is over you like it is over me at Starbucks. No, it's not. That's not the natural environment. The entity is stalking with the fake sun. The entity is incapable of controlling itself while it listens to me expound upon very probative and damning evidence. And that inability to control yourself is why I'm going to accomplish what is disbanding that Ontario Police Department that engaged in kidnapping me on several occasions, including the latest on May 29, 2025. This is the criminal defendant of Tracy Banks, who summoned the gang stalkers in order to threaten me and criminally defame me, while she is maintaining a secret which is procured through fraud and gang stalking in an effort to criminally defame a targeted individual. And this is the purpose of gang stalking and referring to things that are literally farcical and imaginary with this pedophile Tracy Banks, referencing medication that I do not have, never have taken, and do not need, never been prescribed any medication, never had any mental illness, and the entity that is gang stalking is proving that. So I want to be clear, it's malicious when you're engaged in gang stalking and then making those allegations, which I documented on video. Tracy Banks is going to federal prison, especially while her co-defendants are following me all around the city in helicopters and in police vehicles and in airplanes. All right, the entity is engaged in this P.O.C, and this is what is exposing public corruption, because this is what the ordinary target individual is subject to. License plate 33705E1, 7MTK484, 91271B4. Omnitrans, Route 61, gang stalking, you already know that. I'm on those buses. The entity keeps the fake sun over me, which is directly contradictory to keeping it over Starbucks, because when I'm on Route 61 going to Fontana, the entity, and it's already on the record, the entity is moving that fake sun in real time. License plate EDY-I-96, that's Colorado, 6WSL044, 8WTP961, Omnitrans 1545686, 9JPW733, 9HRN366, 8HJY192, 9KRW534. This is the population stalking, 9TEL036. They're all engaged in federal stalking. License 8KLG228. You can scratch that one, I can't see the last plate. That's why the Ontario International Airport flies over Euclid and C Street, where the entity just flew over my head by a helicopter. And Corey Watson, gang stalking under that fake sun, as I reference his name, crosses path, 682YIC. That's the entity gang stalking with the City of Ontario. And that's state conduct. The entity that is gang stalking through the civilian population, that civilian population is in the shoes of the state, maintaining criminal presence on behalf of that government that maintains no warrant or probable cause, no legitimate government interest to keep you under surveillance in the way that gang stalking requires. And gang stalking is demonic activity. The demon possessed, these are monitoring spirits. These are people that are not normal, they're not sane, they are demon possessed, and they're engaged in what is no longer a secret. And while Satan is incapable of controlling himself, they provide more and more evidence to me while they're triggered by the truth that I speak. License plate 8VAW228. It is currently, what's the time right now? 9:53 a.m. All right, this is going on a playlist. Pay attention to my YouTube channel, because the entity engages in gang stalking, provides obvious evidence of it, and then they're embarrassed trying to engage in federal stalking, trying to keep it unpublished on my website, which is additional criminal conduct serving to disband the Ontario Police Department. Gang stalking is Wells Fargo. While I'm walking by the business is stalking. That's how you're going to prosecute. License 7H27829. The Ontario International Airport just flew over, and this demon drives by with no license plates on. This is relevant to what is federal stalking, knowledge of documentation, and it's relevant to the criminal conduct of the police who are incentivizing this P.O.C. All right, you will see the evidence of the specific environment, the people of the state that engage in monitoring your vagina, that engage in what is criminal summoning, that engage in what is federal stalking, violating your privacy, stalking by residence, stalking by place of employment. That's the malice of an entity that's engaging in the public corruption of gang stalking with the government in the shoes of the state. They're doing so while not bearing any license plates, and that's relevant to knowledge, ongoing surveillance. And that's something that the criminals of the Ontario Police Department, they contribute to. That's also why that police department is being disbanded. They're not an actual police department. License 9FKF194, 8VEN946, stalking in the path with light while the demons sound that audible activity. And that's the obsession of a gang stalker whose mental illness is put at the forefront of their prosecution. All right, being documented, this is the work of Satan. Satan is a spirit of mental illness. 9FKF194, gang stalking at 9:54 a.m. P.O.C. All right, the entity is engaging in this as one. Inside of the OVITT Family Community Library, it's impossible light activity. They're all walking around with multiple shadows, perpendicular shadows, shadows that are multiplying in number. License 8KVJ162. And they're doing so pursuant to the P.O.C. Sean Thrasher is a documented kidnapper engaging in what are multiple acts of kidnapping with the Ontario Police Department. Well, kidnapping, yes, but actually the harassment and criminal defamation while he is engaged in what is waging false allegations while he's gang stalking. OVITT Family Community Library is a gang stalker, and it's also a state facilitating venue, gang stalking. And so is Paul Leon. The City Hall is feet away from this library where the entity keeps the fake sun all day long, and ongoing rampant criminal conduct and sexual violence is underway, while even the City of Ontario municipal employees engage in it. 9EPM942. Paul Leon's mental illness, Paul Leon's corruption, Paul Leon's lawlessness is put at the forefront while he is going to be removed from office, and he's also being exposed for being a mentally ill and a professionally incompetent, not merely derelict, but incompetent because he's a criminal. RXY3391, he's a fake pastor as well. That's a Texas plate, that plate that I just read right now, while the entity keeps what is planes flying over the plaza. a fake sun over me where I'm at this plaza, 7WUU486, and the people of the state engage in this criminal conduct. Guess what? He's a part of the population that's gang stalking in Ontario. He's one demon that's referring to himself as a mayor. While the Ontario police are being demon stalking in an obvious manner with helicopter activity all over the city, guess who's being removed from office? And guess who's going to be prosecuted for threatening me, as I specifically document that mayor by name? It is Paul Leon. The helicopter activity, stalking me by helicopter, stalking me by commercial planes, and that proof of that is the maintenance of that specific environment while a bunch of psychopaths surround me at Starbucks while they're engaging in that pattern of conduct. This is the entity that's going to be prosecuted, and that's not limited to a gang stalking mayor. So let me show you the fake sun while Ontario police are stalking in the path. Alrighty, you're looking at, again, the entity gang stalking at the U.S. Bank. Under that fake sun, that same department gang stalking with UPS that was creating light activity. They're gang stalking with the entire city. They're gang stalking with the state, but they're gang stalking while UPS is creating light activity. That's under an afternoon fake sun at that same bank. It's after 1 o'clock. I'm coming from the Starbucks where there's no natural environment, including the sun remaining stationary over that building, which is indicative of what the entire city of Ontario is engaging in. The Ontario Police Department are stalking in the path, exhibiting demon possession while a fake sun is over me at this library, where I am documenting the fake sun over me at this library at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, at 6 o'clock in the evening, at again when I'm arriving in the afternoon after 1 o'clock, and they are at 9:57 a.m. gang stalking with this male. He looks to be under the age of majority, stalking in the path with a demon all over him while he's in operation of a communication device. He's gang stalking with the Ontario police while that fake sun is over me, indicating that targeting conduct. The Ontario police, who are demon possessed, and their demon possession is directly relevant to exposing their secrets as demons who are corrupt, gang stalking as a whole police department, using helicopters to do so. And because they engage in that level of terrorism and kidnapping, they're going to be disbanded. All right, and anything that they're doing, for example, with the College and University of Law, when they're gang stalking at the Ontario Town Square, when they're engaged stalking, it's all criminal summoning. They're engaged in surveillance, and what supersedes is the supernatural environment where they're engaging in that P.O.C. And OVITT Family Community Library shares in that they committed kidnapping together on June 16, 2022 under a fake sun at 10:29 a.m. And I'm documenting the fake sun same day, same time when I'm in LA, documenting it regularly while I remain in an entirely different location where the sun cannot be over the entrance like it is when they committed kidnapping at this venue under the fake sun, and doing so while it's remaining from sunrise until sunset over Woodside Senior Apartments. This is, again, the entity that is overwhelmed. They're a bunch of inferior demons whose voodoo, whose witchcraft did not work. Also, their stalking conduct is what I document to prove it. And they're going to be prosecuted for that. For the mental illness, they're going to be diagnosed for it. And they will be permanently removed from law enforcement. Not just going to federal prison, not just being disbanded. They're going to be removed from law enforcement altogether for terrorism. It is currently, by the way, 9:59 a.m. This is the entity that shows that ongoing obsession, and that obsession is proven through what is the maintenance of an environment that is conducive to criminal monitoring, and that obsession is also shown through the ongoing feckless efforts. Your gang stalking is being documented. Your stalking conduct is relevant. Remember, stalking is inherent to what is obsession. So you have an obsession of a police department that is both obsessed with me. They're obsessed with my vagina. They worship me while they follow me around from place to place. They keep a whole fake sun over me, indicating that a population is stalking, that a population shares that same condition and is engaging in that shared pattern of conduct. And that is evident through a supernatural environment that remains over me. And it's exclusive with regard to no stranger is gang stalking. A population is engaging in a pattern of conduct, and they are engaging in what is targeting someone. They know exactly who I am, they know exactly what I'm doing, and they know what I'm stating while they're engaging in it. All right, the gang stalkers of the College of Law, University of Law are engaging in the P.O.C. and its criminal summoning while the entity is engaging in that P.O.C. with them. It is currently 10 a.m. The entities keeping the fake sun in Ontario PD are engaged in criminal summoning. It's P.O.C. Alrighty, this is the entity stalking under the fake sun pursuant to criminal summoning of the Ontario Police. They are stalking from place to place, flying over my head in helicopter, and there is no appearance of legitimacy. And the same exact specific environment, following from place to place, following on a nightly basis, kidnapping for over a term of years, gang stalking. This is criminal summoning when the people of the state who are gang stalking with them as a matter of public corruption are engaging what is criminal summoning is pursuant to what is a need for the presence of the what are demons that are masquerading as a law enforcement agency. They're engaged in criminal surveillance and they're monitoring together, and the maintenance of a fake sun over an event is relevant to the pattern of conduct, and it's also psychopathic. It's revealing what is grand grand corruption. This is relevant to, again, the invasion of the private space. So you're imagining, understand, the reality is that they're all monitoring my vagina when I use the restroom inside of the OVITT Family Community Library. They're all engaged in federal stalking. This is an entity that's, again, individually, you have hundreds of people here, and they're engaged in the P.O.C. I have documentation at this College of Law, University of Law, which is, again, an institution that is already struggling to maintain an accredited status. And as you document a corrupt institution that's supposedly preparing people to go into the practice of law, this is the basis to remove that institution from being able to do so, based on terrorism, based on corruption. Moral turpitude is an issue with regard to going into the practice of law. And as you listen to the truth that I speak, the entity tends to engage in sounding helicopter activity. This is while the Ontario police are right here gang stalking. That's the Ontario Fire Department, who is, by the way, in relevant position on the opposite side of Paul Leon's facilitating venue, where gang stalking is underway in concert with the corrupt police department, while he is gang stalking under a fake sun at 10:02 a.m. The entity is gang stalking by helicopter at this same venue where I'm documenting the fake sun over the same college. I'm sitting over the tree, under a tree. The entity has the fake sun and is stalking me by helicopter, just like you saw this morning. And it is currently 10:03 a.m. and there is no natural environment, no matter how many years pass, no matter daylight savings time or not, that will reconcile that supernatural maintenance of an environment that's requiring the eye of a sun. Gang stalking police officers go to federal prison. Activity, relevant positioning, and audible noise that's maintained by the facility. This is a demon that's pacing, and his focal point that he wants you to be is that he's engaged in conversation. He's pacing. This is also pacing while one is crossing path together. They're doing it under the fake sun. There's no sun that LAPD is under, gang stalking me by helicopter like I'm documenting, that is shared with the Ontario police at the University of VERNE College of Law. They're gang stalking together, and an event is, or the entity is, malicious engagement in what is criminal summoning. License 1644203, vehicle 1068, 1614298, vehicle 1049. This is Ontario police over here, vehicle 1528. That looks like a female that got out creating activity and doing so. Monitoring with the Ontario Fire Department, that's sounding their sirens as I'm referring to the entity gang stalking with the Ontario Mayor, Paul Leon. This is the Ontario City Hall right here. And I've documented the fake sun being over the Ontario City Hall in the middle of the afternoon. And I included that in the video that is published last night, where the Ontario International Airport is flying over here where there's no terminal in order to hover over the 280 North Lemon Apartments. That's where the police department is gang stalking. This woman is subject to federal prison. License 1639882. This is the state facilitating venue. This is the supernatural. This is identifying state monitoring. All right. And this is the police department that's gang stalking. They're in relevant position while I'm inside of that OVITT Family Community Library, just like they were doing at Starbucks, while the fake sun is moving, and it's not remaining over Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue. Stalker, sex offender, psychopath, and a demon possessed one. Okay. This is public corruption shared with Paul Leon. Gang stalking me by helicopter just moments ago. This is the faces of the demon engaged in that. You see the fake sun reflecting off of her windshield. This is a psychopath. And this is engaged in a statewide pattern of conduct. She's engaged in federal stalking under Title 18, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2. This department gang stalking while the entity kept the fake sun over Tracy Banks' apartment. This is the department that Tracy Banks summoned when she made up information about medication, made up information about violence, made up information about being raped, made up information about mental illness. And these are the ones suffering from severe mental illness while they're stalking as a population under a whole fake sun. All right, these are this is the asininity, the corruption that is obvious for everybody to witness. The Ontario City Hall is under the fake sun in the middle of the afternoon as well. I'll refer to you to that. I'll refer to that documentation. This is the fake sun that's over, again, that's the library right there. It's over this library. The sun is not going to be present over the same venue at 6:22 a.m. when you're looking at the stalkers who are corrupt. And she's monitoring right now. License 1639882. This is P.O.C. This is unlawful. That's facilitation by a corrupt institution. There's a way to deal with that. That's the kidnappers of the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department engaged in kidnapping with the Ontario Police. There's a way to deal with that. The entity that's gang stalking while you think you're going to take the California bar, going to a corrupt institution where you're gang stalking simultaneously with the government. There's a way to deal with that. The entity is engaging in what is impunity and malice. And this is the police department that's going to be disbanded. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, relevant for disbanding kidnapping while they're engaged in criminal monitoring. Criminal monitoring. This is state surveillance. There is no natural environment, and there is no series of coincidences when you have 69, 70 videos of the police department following you day and night in helicopter, and psychopaths keep their back to you while they're gang stalking. All right, there's no airport, Terminal 2 or Terminal 4 when they're flying off right here. This is P.O.C. That's a psychopath. That's audible activity as well. This is and under the fake sun, you're witnessing mental illness and corruption. This is the entity that's going to be disbanded, and there's no airports where you're taking off. over here, Terminal 2, Terminal 4, and Paul Leon is directly engaging in it. That's the Ontario. That's the demon that's going to be removed from office. Sharing in the criminal conduct of the Ontario Police Department. This is P.O.C. Light activity, relevant positioning, audible activity. This is P.O.C. It is currently, again, 10:07 a.m. The fake sun remaining here at 6:22 p.m. where the entity is acting directly. Sheriff's Department, Police Department, the Fire Department, sounding sirens, the Ontario International Airport flying over. It's all of the City of Ontario gang stalking, and their focal point is me, contrary to maintaining an event which is summoned for criminal summoning by the entity. All right, and what you're not going to separate, the entity just flew over my head while I'm referring to damning evidence of these demons gang stalking under the 1:30 p.m. fake sun at the U.S. Bank where I was just at, and they referred heavily used tactic of stalking in helicopters, and you're supposed to forget that. They're going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. They're being disbanded, and they will be diagnosed with regard to their mental illness, which is put on full display. P.O.C. All right, the video you just listened to is evidence of criminal summoning by the Ontario Police Department and the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, both engaged in a pattern of kidnapping with the intent to obstruct justice and criminally defame while they are engaged in this state system of gang stalking, all right? And they're doing so in the specific environment. The fake sun that's over me as I'm at the back end of the OVITT Family Community Library at 10 in the morning, remember it's the same fake sun that's over me at this same venue at 6:20 in the evening, where the entity is surrounded with evidence of them gang stalking. And it is, again, a straightforward prosecution. Public corruption, license 7GTG 237, engaging in the criminal conduct of the Ontario Police, who are present in the path for you to witness what it is that I'm documenting on a ceaseless basis while the people of the state are vicariously acting. And as I walk back to the entrance, so does the fake sun remain over me and not remaining over those demons who are not in a natural environment, but they're targeting with all of the City of Ontario, with the population. 8JJL284, engaging in criminal conduct with the Ontario Police. They're being disbanded. And they just flew over my head in a circle by helicopter as I'm referring to documented criminal activity by gang stalking police officers who want to appear as though they're legitimate, who want to appear as though they're not demons, who want to appear as though that they have authority under the law, which you don't when you're a demon-possessed gang stalking psychopath that's hiding behind a badge, which is Satan. All right, these are demons that are engaged in public corruption with the people, and they're engaged in the demonic system of gang stalking. And the fake sun remains over me as I walk back toward the entrance at a distance away from those demons and those vehicles whose license plates and vehicle numbers I documented, and it's exposing the corrupt institution, the VERNE College of Law. They're a gang stalker. The headquarters of P.O.C, Paul Leon, gang stalking at that city hall where the fake sun is over me while I'm standing in the front of that venue. And surrounded by what is an unlawful threat. It's criminal summoning. The pattern of conduct is what supersedes any sort of event where the entity is gang stalking. And this is showing you what is severe corruption and also mental illness to go to that extent to gang stalk somebody so that they're not able to prove. Because the mindset behind that is that nobody is that important that they would engage in that level of plotting against you. And that's a lie. Out of the pit of hell. That's exactly what they're doing. And the specific environment proves that. Okay, the sun is not going to be one that's going to deviate from its natural orbit in order to engage in what is remaining over me as opposed to everybody else. The fake sun remains over me as I go right to the same entrance and walk away from those demons who are stalking in the path and monitoring as I go from one venue to the other, replete with what is stalking in helicopter. That's not separate from the demons that are at College of Laverne, behind the library, gang stalking right there at the City Hall as well. Paul Leon knows that he's being documented, and he also then knows that he's being removed from office. And the ongoing documented threats is relevant to a federal prosecution. License plate 6HTE846, crossing path in real time, which is a threat while the entity is monitoring with the police on the opposite side under a fake sun that's vacillating from sides of the buildings. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and take a picture. It's 10:11 a.m. The entity is keeping the fake sun in Los Angeles. The entity is keeping the fake sun over Starbucks. The entity is keeping the fake sun over me when I'm in Fontana, California. The entity is keeping the fake sun over me when I'm in Chino, California. The entity is keeping the fake sun when I'm on transportation on Omnitrans. The entity is keeping the fake sun over me when I'm remaining at Tracy Banks' apartment at Woodside Senior Apartments. The entity is engaging in what is obvious gang stalking, and it is shown through a demonic imitation of the natural environment, and psychopaths engaging in it, like the Ontario Police, are going to be disbanded and they're going to federal prison. License plate 9DRU952, gang stalking with minor children. One of their names is Jacob. Jacob is under the parentage of a bunch of demons that are engaged in criminal conduct with the police department under a fake sun. It is currently 10:12 a.m. This is P.O.C. The fake sun's over the same entrance where, by the way, it remains after 6 p.m. And also, the entity is doing so while the fake sun's over me, while I'm standing right in front of the demons of the Ontario police. And as I walk away, the fake sun moves over me as well. They're in the same position as the rest of the entity they're targeting as a corrupt police department, and they engage in multiple kidnappings. They're going to be disbanded. It is currently 10:12 a.m. This is P.O.C. All right, you will see the images of the fake sun over the entrance of the 215 E.C. Street, and the documentation is already on the record about the fake sun remaining at the exit when the fake sun is still present. That's how I'm able to capture the same environment, and that is the same environment when the sun is over the same building, the same parking lot, the same street. That's non-movement, and that's not the natural environment, and that requires the sun, because there's only one, not 5,200, not 14, and the sun under what the ignoramuses of the city of Ontario engage in, it's never going to be in Florida. And in that supernatural environment, they're all exposed for gang stalking. And the police department that's engaged in gang stalking with the people of the state engaging in a pattern of kidnapping, they're going to federal prison for that, and they will be disbanded. All right, it is currently 10:13 a.m. This is again evidence of what Nathan Morgan, C. Torres, L. Martinez, and B. Hook engaged in on May 29th as a gang stalking police department, acting with Tracy Banks, who was also a documented terrorist, a gang stalker, a pedophile, etc. She's gang stalking with that same police, and they commit kidnapping, and they're all going to federal prison for it. It's 10:14 a.m. This is P.O.C. All right, this is documenting the pattern of conduct of what is stalking with impossible light. It's relevant to what the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department are doing, to what the College of Law, LaVergne University of Law is doing, what the people of the state inside of the venue are doing, and what the Ontario Police Department are doing. Because underneath the covered structure, there's no sunlight that's going to appear on the inside of the building, where the also the sun that's above is not going, it doesn't do this sort of gymnastics. It's providing what is the shadow, also the trees. The shadows are appearing on the inside of the building. This is the pattern of conduct of stalking with impossible light. And also, when the entity is keeping the sun in Los Angeles, there's no sun here, which is again the implausible pattern of conduct. There's no sun here when the entity is keeping it over the 507 North Euclid Avenue, which is in the off of Euclid Avenue, where I just came from. The entity is keeping it there when I don't leave the cafe until after 6 p.m., where this same police department is stalking in helicopters, and that stalking is proven by the maintenance of that fake sun, just like it's proven when I'm in their presence, and that fake sun's over my head, which is revealing to you what the gang stalking mayor, Paul Leon, is engaging in, and he is going to be removed from office because of this public corruption that's happening on his watch, which he is also necessarily engaged in, including while I'm at the Ontario City Hall, okay, where the entity, all manner of the P.O.C. is happening at that city hall. He's being removed from office. He's also monitoring my vagina while the entity is engaged in surveillance in relevant position inside of this library. And this is all impossible light activity. The entity is keeping the fake sun right here. This is evidence of stalking with the fake sun. While I'm at the entrance, it is not at the back portion at the same time. As I walk inside of the venue, the entity is following with the fake sun, which is what the police department are doing under the guise of criminal summoning. And it is the same with maintaining and scheduling any sort of events where the entity is engaging in gang stalking, a massive means of gang stalking, which is embedded into society where that specific environment follows. And this is irreconcilable with what LAPD is doing in the specific environment. When you're comparing it to a natural environment, and this is irreconcilable with it remaining over 507 North Euclid Avenue. This is irreconcilable with it being over Tracy Banks' apartment at it's currently 10:19 a.m. The entity is at 10:25 a.m. on April 25th, 2025, keeping the fake sun when this demon-possessed entity, Linda Reyes, at Woodside Senior Apartments with the City of Ontario, conducting what is an inspection pursuant to gang stalking. There's psychopaths that know exactly what's going on in the apartment while they're engaged in criminal summoning. But the City of Ontario is at 10:25, keeping that fake sun over Tracy Banks' apartment, just as one example. And it keeps it there from sunrise till sunset. And there is no, this is stalking with light, which is identifying the P.O.C. These are, again, the psychopaths that are going to be disbanded. This is what you also need to know. They know that I'm standing here. That knowledge is proven by the fake sun. They know that I'm standing here. They know what I'm stating right now. They also know what's going on with my vagina in the bathroom. And so do the people of the state that are gang stalking. So let me show you. As I move, so does the fake sun. This is not the natural environment. This is P.O.C. And these are the gang stalkers of the Ontario police who are going to be and the unlawful threat of being in their presence while they're engaged in a pattern of kidnapping, manufacturing charges in order to commit kidnapping, engaging in criminal defamation, in doing so with the intent to steal. This is why you maintain a secret conservatorship
procured through fraud and criminal defamation, and gang stalking is supposed to create the illusion of mental illness so that the entity can complete stealing property that they are not going to get, and the police department's being disbanded, and they're going to federal prison for exactly what I just documented and for what the people of the state are. This is 215 E.C. Street. That is the College of Law, University of VERNE. That's gang stalking as well. The entity is engaged in the P.O.C. while this vehicle right now, and the vehicle lights are used as a means of light activity right in the path under the fake sun. This is P.O.C. This is impossible light activity. Alrighty, this is the entity that is gang stalking with the fake sun. As you can see it through the elevator window, this is why I refer to it. This is the elevator, and I'm documenting the maintenance of this fake sun remaining over this elevator while I'm inside of this venue from now until into the late afternoon, where they keep engineer light on the staircase, where they're systematically monitoring. This is impossible light activity. You just saw it at the back portion of the library where the Ontario police, way back there. This is the movement of the fake sun as I move, which is evidence of stalking by a whole entity, including the police department, that engage in what is kidnapping. Everything that you hear and all movement is pursuant to what is monitoring, and it's demonic, and it's also obvious. The entity is keeping this fake sun moving as I move inside of the building, which is not remaining over Woodside Senior Apartments. It's not in Los Angeles. It's not even at the back of the building where I'm showing you as I'm looking at the College of Law, University of Laverne. It's moving as I move to remain over me, which is how you know what stalking is. The psychopaths engage in what are monitoring you in an environment where they don't have to address you. And the fact that they engage in this passive aggressive stalking, you're looking at mental illness that is no longer closeted as well. These are demons, and they're engaged in gang stalking under a fake sun, which is also how you know that they're mentally ill and very malicious. P.O.C. It's currently 10:23 a.m. All right, what you're looking at are images at 10:26 a.m. Where the entity is tracking my steps as I walk through the library and walk out the entrance to get the fake sun, as I just documented it at the back portion where the Ontario police are gang stalking with the College of Law, Laverne College of Law, and it's at the back portion, and that impossible light activity is separate and distinct from the fake sun that's moving in real time. And also the fake sun in and of itself has nothing to do with that engineered light that's on the inside at the back portion of the library, and the evidence of the fake sun proves that. So remember, the engineered light that's all over everything has nothing to do with the fake sun. That's why the impossible light activity is evident at nightfall. And as I walk outside the entrance right now, the Ontario International Airport Amazon Prime is gang stalking 9MSM410. So is the people of the state, and so is the Ontario Police Department and the City Hall, the City of Ontario, the gang stalking City Hall. The government is gang stalking me, while the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department is gang stalking as well, while I am walking out of the entrance, and simultaneous to that is the Ontario International Airport. That's exactly what I documented at 8:48 last night in the engineered light while I'm walking out of this same venue. And then I went around and documented all of their lice plates. This is also relevant to the Ontario Police gang stalking in your path, all right, in your line of vision. The entity engages in what is threatening you while you document them. It is currently, again, 10:27 a.m. You'll also see what is gang stalking inside of the bathroom, a demon that knows where you're at, and that knowledge is proven by the maintenance of impossible light activity outside and inside of the venue, and using the air dryer, which is what this African-American woman is doing with regard to my walking outside, and then the Ontario International Airport flying over, stalking in the path. This is the entity sharing in that demonic conduct of stalking with noise, stalking in the presence, and that's what I'm documenting in the bathroom. And then as I walk out, and you're looking at presence in the path under the fake sun, that's now at the entrance again, not over the elevator window. If it's over that entrance, that's very exclusive sky space to be over the window, and it's also not at the back of the window. Not all of that is happening at the same time. Neither is it remaining over Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue while I'm documenting all this, and it is directly relevant to the Ontario police, who are engaged. Again, Michael LORENZ's criminal threatening, Paul Leon's criminal threatening, Michael GERKEN, even the entity that is Sean Thrasher engaging in what is threatening conduct while you're documenting. All right, and a bunch of demons are tracking your steps as you're inside of that venue. This is P.O.C. and it's relevant to bathroom monitoring my vagina, again, which is an illegitimate government interest, and this is what the entity is doing. While I proved the entity stalking as I'm tracking my steps, they're also monitoring my vagina, stalking in bathrooms. P.O.C. It's 10:29 a.m. All right, it is currently 5:08 p.m. and this is documentation of the sex offender that is the heavily documented entity, the City of Ontario, which is the state of California public entity that's a violent sex offender, maintaining criminal surveillance in the bathroom. And that's the people of the state that are stalking with impossible light, that are stalking with methods of light, as I'm documenting walking to Starbucks, as I'm documenting while I'm inside of Starbucks, as I'm documenting the fake sun remaining over me, as I'm documenting the entity that's engaging what is stalking with presence on behalf of the sex offenders who are the Ontario police. The entity is maintaining criminal presence in that bathroom in order to monitor my vagina. And the fake sun remains at this time, which you'll see the fake sun is over the same venue that it was where Ontario police are gang stalking at the Ontario City Hall, with the Ontario International Airport, at the College of Law, the University of Law, where that fake sun is vacillating from being at the back to being over the elevator window to being at the entrance as I walk through and capture that fake sun, which is not remaining stationary over the Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue, in the way that it is documented while I remain at that cafe and do not leave for the duration of the day. The entity is maintaining the fake sun if you're paying attention to my documentation that's published in Los Angeles at the same time of year, even on the day. The entity is gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department at the College of Law, VERNE College of Law, which is adjacent to the library, where I documented this morning at 10. And the entity is keeping the fake sun outside of my living room window in the same exact manner at the same time, which is what I documented on this day, June 25th, 2024, where the LAPD is also in that video gang stalking, engaging in the same criminal pattern of conduct that the Ontario Police Department that is going to be disbanded is engaging in. And they are engaging what is monitoring my vagina, while the people of the state that are vicariously acting on behalf of that corrupt police department are engaging in surveillance. They're maintaining presence and engineer light that's inside of that bathroom that fills this library under a fake sun that is still over the same venue as I walk out and capture that specific environment. And the unprecedented sex offenses that everybody in this building, in fact, it's the entity that is engaged in what is the sex offense of monitoring genitalia, monitoring in a bathroom, monitoring while having no legitimate interest in doing so under any circumstances, and also especially the sexually motivated and predatory pattern of conduct of monitoring gang stalking through sex offenders who are the people of the state inside of the facilitating venues where the entity is engaged in public corruption, gang stalking in concert with the population, which is what the OVITT Family Community Library represents. The entity is engaged in what is stalking in the bathroom in engineer light. And the fake sun is still over the same venue as I walk out 5 p.m. The fake sun is over the entrance, over the elevator window, over the back window where impossible light is on the floor. In the back of that light, the ascendantity of stalking with light is documented inside of this venue, and the entity is maintaining that fake sun. 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 7 hours later, and this is the documentation and images of sex offenders who are engaging in surveillance. They're not actually focused on reading or researching. They're all in engineer light while they're stalking in the path, and this is that psychopathic pattern of conduct by the demon-possessed population that's maintaining the corrupt system of gang stalking. And Mike LORENZ, the Ontario Police, is being disbanded for monitoring my vagina. It is currently 5:11 p.m. This is P.O.C. All right, sharing in that pattern of conduct includes the United States Postal Service engaged in bathroom monitoring, stalking in the path at the venue, and you'll see them crossing path as I step out to get that fake sun at what is 5:07 p.m. I'm standing at the same entrance in the morning where I'm capturing this light source upon my entrance of the venue, which I will remind you is captured at 10:26 a.m. That is the United States Postal Service engaging in what is the sex offense of monitoring in bathrooms, and doing so with impunity, pacing with the rest of these sex offenders who are the people of the state. The people of the state engaged in bathroom monitoring includes ZCT 884, crossing path also under the fake sun while monitoring as an entity inside of a private space, which is a sex offense committed by the people of the state who are acting on behalf of the government. And the OVITT Family Community Library, by the way, is a government building. It's categorized as a state facilitating venue. It represents the city of Ontario that's engaged in state surveillance. And they're engaged in the sex offense of monitoring in the bathroom. 74569R3, engaged in what is monitoring in the restroom The perpetual sex offense, monitoring genitalia, monitoring in the private space, monitoring pursuant to the specific environment which is maintained while the people of the state are engaging in the unprecedented sexually violent pattern of conduct, the predatory pattern of conduct of stalking in a bathroom on behalf of the government in concert with the government, which is purely sexually motivated and perverted. And this is the behavior of the demon-possessed, who are violent sex offenders engaging in surveillance in sexually perverted manners. License plate DE37P34. That's a paper plate on an old Honda Civic, a third party that anticipates being documented. So this is relevant to the entity engaging in obstruction of justice tactics. And this is also expected when the people of the state who are gang stalking, engaging in criminal conduct with a corrupt police department, utilize such obstruction tactics. Nonetheless, this is a paper plate on a gray Honda Civic captured under the fake sun at 5:07 p.m. stalking in the path, the doorway. Again, the entity that is tracking my steps is doing so with regard to knowledge of everything I'm doing in the venue. So the flashing of lights, the hazard lights at the entrance is stalking with light under that specific environment. The fake sun is there as well, which is what you'll see at 5:07 p.m. The entity is engaging in that P.O.C. Monitoring in the bathroom. The sex offender license 9DFY900. Engaged in gang stalking as I'm documenting the people of the state who are pacing. This is psychopathic behavior under the fake sun, monitoring an American citizen, doing so with impunity before the world. They're being exposed as demons. They're being exposed as stalkers, as an entity, and engaging in what is practicing sexual violence as an entity as well, with impunity and malice under a fake sun. The mental illness of the gang stalking entity is put on full display as I document that as well, and they engage in that on camera. The entity is engaged in the P.O.C. and is engaged in surveillance of the evidence against it as well. This is Mike Lorenz's engagement in a sex offense as the demon-possessed terrorist leader over the gang stalkers of the Ontario Police, who are at this venue at 10 in the morning, following from Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue, where within 0.4 miles the fake sun is remaining over the same street from 507 North Euclid Avenue to 215 East C Street, where there is no natural environment where the sun would be on this same street, which runs north and south, by the way. So this is no deviation in any direction west, where the entity is maintaining this obvious identifier with regard to criminal surveillance, and doing so while stalking in bathrooms. This is maintaining the elements of monitoring in bathrooms. This is knowledge about my vagina in the bathroom, which is exceedingly violent sexual conduct, where the entity is engaging in monitoring with communication devices as well. And the Ontario Police is being disbanded. It is the entire workforce of the OVITT Family Community Library is gang stalking and monitoring as well. They're engaged in pacing around me while they're getting paid by the City of Ontario to engage in surveillance under the guise of working at a library. It is currently 5:17 p.m. These images will be uploaded to the Google Drive. This is documentation of the perpetual sex offense, and the fake sun has not deviated off of Euclid Avenue. This is a 4-minute walk from the cafe where the entity is engaged in criminal summoning at the intersection of Euclid and F Street, and I'm at C Street and Euclid, where the entity is keeping the fake sun over the same entrance where I was this morning, documenting criminal summoning at both venues, where the Ontario Police is gang stalking as I'm at both venues. This is the entity following from place to place. It is a documentation of an entity stalking, and this is gang stalking. This is P.O.C.
Alright, City of Ontario is stalking in the path with their flashers on, aimed toward the entrance as I exit, which is where Ontario is flying by with a commercial plane as I walk out. Okay, and with I have 4 shadows. So this is the impossible light. The entity is maintaining a group at the entrance and maintaining what is present. And this is the City of Ontario. It's 9:04 p.m. 7RFY967. This is the entity gang stalking, again, as I exit 9DLE808. L1VEV135. 7BLL214. 8ADJ345. 9LKK048. 94624B2. 9DFS 783, 7XUK 112, 9JGP 498, and it is currently 9:05 p.m. Again, that's Ontario International Airport over the 280 North Lemon as I walk out, and the city of Ontario with the hazards on. Impossible light while they're driving into the garage right now. License 9TWP631, and that is 9LWP934. Driving into the parking garage with impossible light on the inside, gang stalking. These are the demons that are they have Tesla chargers in here. They're monitoring. They're all monitoring. But just reading the license plates in the immediate environment, gang stalking as I am walking out of the walking out of the OVITT Family Community Library, and it also includes these third parties right here. License 5ZCT884 and 9GDN412. It's 9:06 p.m. This is P.O.C. 9NLX 999 or 799, excuse me. 9NLX 799. And that's the City of Ontario again, using the vehicles coming out of the City of Ontario's OVITT Family Community Library. Fake sun remains over it all day long. Engineer light inside of that venue. And the entity City of Ontario gang stalking with the planes hovering over the apartment complex at exit. And the people of the state are engaged in stalking together. They pace around, aiming their headlights to touch you, while then the planes are the audible activity crossing path. License plate EB19X72, paper 9GXT504, and it's 9:07 p.m. License 9LGA308, and I read their license plate. All right, it's currently 9:07 p.m. This is P.O.C. Upon exit, the entity gang stalking with planes. So that's with the people of the state. 77WK600. P.O.C. All right, gang stalking license 9GML491. And so is ARCO at 434 North Euclid Avenue, 7WYN121. Impossible light is aimed. Again, it's not their headlights that's reaching a tremendous difference, creating dynamic shadows. Those are demons stalking the path with engineered light, like the people of the state are doing on a ceaseless basis, gang stalking. License 9NSG965 and 7WQX175. It's 9:10 p.m. Nine ENT248, 8WYZ003 with their turn signal on at the gas pump while they're filling up their gas tank. 5KLT822. Bag of Jerks is monitoring. It's an old white lady gang stalking. She's got her business, which is corrupt, on the side of her vehicle. License 9ENT2, yeah, I read that one already. License plate 8LGE802. This is 434 North Euclid Avenue. ARCO is gang stalking, and every demon at that gas station is gang stalking, and they are stalking in the path. And as I walk up is when they begin driving off, which is activity creation, and it's also in anticipation of being documented. And those are the demons that are stalkers, monitoring your vagina in the bathroom. All right, when they're stalking in the path, these are the demons that are stalking in the bathroom. The entity is engaged in gang stalking on behalf of the state. License plate 7FUZ336. Gang stalking at Chevron. License plate 6NYD346. It is currently 9:12 p.m. All right, the people of the state who are demon possessed in their gang stalking, engaging in the system, aiding the government in criminal monitoring, includes license plate 6RHX555. Sounding the vehicle, which is again was simultaneity to crossing the street. Has a little minor baby in the vehicle while gang stalking
in the middle of the night, engaging in psychological torture, engaged in gang stalking, terrorism. License 9TMB216 with an infant child in the back seat, gang stalking me. License 8VYZ397. License 3WW. I cannot see this. Hold on. I just want to be clear, demons engaging in the pattern of conduct of gang stalking are a threat to minor children, 3WWE075. And that's a psychopath engaged in what is disturbing compartmentalization of a sick mind, having a minor child while engaging in gang stalking, the satanic means of targeting another person and doing so maliciously, in furtherance of murder and kidnapping, and then having a younger child in tow. And this is what I'm documenting with regard to this corrupt population. That's noted with regard to the documentation of the entity that's targeting me. License 9KSN409, 9KFC912. Your life is going to be permanently altered. License plate 7ZCZ521. License plate 8HOB656. Apologies. My bad ran over something really quick. Okay. All right, license plate 7CIP862. License 9GNH810, 9JUJ991, 7WIN575, 01024M2, vehicle 1771. That's a taxi? Yeah, bell cap, gang stalking. 73731B3, 8ARE448, 82380C4. 7LEB940. The demon that's gang stalking with a minor child in tow is gang stalking with the rest of the people of the state who are in relevant position as well, and that's who I'm documenting right now. And I'll get my shadows that's surrounding me right now. And monitoring a relevant position while the entity sounds plain engine 7EJU276, and I have two shadows on my right, and I've got two shadows on my left, which I take images of, where this demon is engaged in the demonic synchronicity as I approach a intersection, a demon using their vehicle as a method of light activity and audible activity, just locking your vehicle doors, and has her baby child in the vehicle while she's gang stalking another person. This is, again, the entity whose priorities are going to be put into proper order when they face the consequences and they understand the implications of engaging in any sex offense while you're in custody of minor children, doing it in concert with minor children, while you have access to minor children, but yet you're engaging in the egregious sex offense of gang stalking. It is currently 9:18 p.m. The entity is gang stalking with the Ontario International Airport as well. License plate. I can't really see that one. It's currently 9:19 p.m. at, this is F Street in Euclid, P.O.C. Alrighty, this is the obvious targeting by the Ontario International Airport. I'm at Laurel and F at Laurelwood Apartments. This is the Aegis health center where they pass out drugs to addicts, and they're gang stalking. That was impossible light you just saw flash across the building, and there's absolutely nothing on. There's no photo shoot going on. This is the evidence of the Ontario International Airport gang stalking, but you already know this when they're flying over the gang stalker of the Paul Leon's Ontario City Hall, where there's also no Terminal 2 or Terminal 4. Being right here at what is G Street in Laurel is northwest of the entity gang stalking under the fake sun that remained over me all day long, within a radius of what is 0.4 miles from Starbucks to the OVITT Family Community Library. Also flying and then making a U-turn, which is demonic pacing. amongst the impossible light that you just saw flashing here. And this is going to be the disbanding of the Ontario Police Department and the removal of the mayor of the city of Ontario and everybody on that corrupt gang stalking city council. That includes Alan D. WAPNER, who's also being subject to what is removal from office and exposed for gang stalking. This is literally the entity following as I leave the library by planes, which is, again, another day of documenting an entity, a public entity, stalking as I go from place to place and I document that P.O.C. This is the very unintelligent system of gang stalking, and the entity is engaging in what is impossible light. This is my shadow reaching a distance away, two of them. This is where the entity is stalking by planes, documenting the gang stalker with an infant child in her vehicle. It's on podcast and following me from place to place. She is gang stalking me with the Ontario International Airport, and so is everybody else that I just documented on podcast. It's currently 9:22 p.m. This is the prosecution of the state of California. This is exposing demonic activity, and it is the cause of what is tremendous corruption, which is going to be met with a federal prosecution of the state of California. This is Laurelwood Apartments. They're monitoring, and so is everybody else that's living in these homes right here. They're engaged in the pattern of conduct where they live, and that's, again, no third party, none of the people of the state, and no government actors accepted from the prosecution. It's 9:23 p.m. This is P.O.C. All right, the sex offenders who are the people of the state engaging in harassment, like you saw Nathan at 130 West G Street, but yet engaging in what is molesting my person while they're stalking with the city of Ontario, that's where you end up in federal prison. They are engaging in the same pattern of conduct, repeatedly molesting. License 9MKV 997, hold on. License 9NKV 897, and surrounding in order to molest. Molesting all over my breasts, my genitalia. This is the demon stalking in the bathroom. This is license plate 8TZV431. And the Ontario International Airport that's stalking, deviating from any terminal, is gang stalking with these demons. 8YOP696, federal stalking, gang stalking with the police. 9AKF122, 9EFX894. Hear that vehicle? They're lurking in the dark and they begin moving as I come and document. This is P.O.C. License plate 8DBU077. License 7TJV178 and EAZGAP 7AQE522. Okay, Ontario is full of demons engaging in the pattern of conduct, and the Ontario International Airport is now flying over G Street and Euclid, 5DCY680. This is the gym, right? Yes. Okay, yeah, that's 8DBU077 gang stalking, molesting my person while the Ontario International Airport is flying over right here. Going right into 130 West G Street, 37DV066, Texas. Crossing path with the Ontario International Airport. License plate. A whole bunch of sex offenders engaging in what is pumping weight, pumping iron at the gym. DE18Z49 paper. 8SMF476. 9NBA678, 8UVA426, 5YZZ809, 9HRD265, 8UVA426, 8WTK159. All right, and what you're paying attention to is there are a bunch of sleepers that are in the parking lot awaiting for me to arrive, and one demon after another driving by in order to touch with light, which is what demons are doing. They're stalking. This is mental illness. This is severe mental illness of a bunch of demons who are gang stalking with the government. 8RXR772, and this is why the Ontario Police is being disbanded. This is what summons the police that is gang stalking with them together. Psychopaths who are stalking, also stalking in bathrooms, monitoring my vagina, monitoring your genitalia is my point. 6RZZ578, 9CTZ672, 81210N2, 7PTD099, license, amplification, crossing path. That's 4XMC670, 8FIK000, 9UAS978, 7VDE624, 8BSM110. All right, and Pizza Hut at 715 North Euclid Avenue is gang stalking. The gym is open at what is 130 West G Street. And this is the same plaza where I'm documenting the fake sun in the morning, and I'm documenting the fake sun in Ontario Police Department, gang stalking using criminal summoning in the middle of the afternoon. This is that same plaza where the people of the state are engaging in that pattern of conduct. And the entity is engaging in terrorism, one demon after another, after another, after another, after another, when they're engaged in what is accumulating a federal
federal case, and doing so on behalf of the government. The government's going to be dealt with because of this public corruption that the people of their state are sharing in, and it's very sick. 7DGR015, having a population engaging in stalking on behalf of a government that's engaging in the same exact pattern of conduct. 6NGW189, and stalking in the path, just keeping their foot on the brake with regard to maintenance and focusing on me as opposed to reversing and driving out of the parking lot. License 7ZYG483. 6URY638. License 6SJZ815. 5SJE180. P.O.C. Alrighty, the entity that I'm documenting, again, at the shopping plaza. This is where the Ontario International Airport is migrating as I'm migrating, literally stalking by the airport, now flying over G Street while I am at this end of Ontario and Euclid. CRAO8T, that's Arizona, 89084L3, 08168F4, 9NKW866, 8RXR772. Let me show you the entity, gang stalking by planes. All right, that is audible activity and relevant positioning by the entity engaged in aerial surveillance, which is for massive monitoring by the people of the state who are surrounding in a dark parking lot. They're engaged in just waiting to cross path in touch with light, which is the mens rea, the mind state of a sex offender. The objective of gang stalking is to monitor with light. It's engineered light, and this is the purpose of being in a dark parking lot, stalking a woman who you're all monitoring, waiting for her to approach, and one demon after another is using planes, first of all, while a bunch of sex offenders are all around on the ground, pacing all around, okay? I'm doing so in the middle of the night, and this is the entity that is always stalking with light, engineered light. And going into is this gym 24 hours? Mm-hmm. Yeah, where a bunch of sex offenders are going in and out of the gym at 130 West G Street, which is one of the venues that are open, in addition to 7-Eleven. So again, when I'm buying pizza, then they're all of it, the entities gang stalking by ordering pizza, and pizza's business ratchets up. It's the same thing with Starbucks. Under the fake sun is an indicator regarding the P.O.C. At nightfall, the same engineer light is present. The entity's gang stalking by commercial plane over the UNICARE community across from the Starbucks. The entity is gang stalking under a fake sun that remains. This is the same exact pattern of conduct. Stalking with light is the outward demonstration of demon possession. It's relevant for the mental illness of the entity that's gang stalking. 9TBN602, 8XPC587, and the gym is engaged in criminal summoning. They're pacing out of the gym and pacing in and out and engaged in what is, again, all the third parties' license plates, but the establishment itself, the entire plaza, that's the Ontario Fire Department, demons that are using fire trucks while they're all listening to me, just like they were under the fake sun at the Ontario Town Square, where the entity was keeping a fake sun that remained until documentation today after 5 p.m. License 7TJV178, I believe I documented that one already. Touching with impossible light, 7TLR680. Yeah, driving a Chevy and molesting with light, 8EMH058, and I don't think I got this one right here. That's Ontario Fire and the Ontario International Airport. License plate 9AKF122. In case I didn't get that one, hold on, let me see. This is G Street, El Pescador at G Street. That's a restaurant they're monitoring. Yeah, E932T1, 8AVM830. They're molesting, sitting, engaging in surveillance in the street, with the entity maintaining plane activity as the entity's engaged in criminal summoning, sounding the sounding the sirens of a fire just one time to create some activity, while the entity is gang stalking with the City of Ontario. License plate coming around just so they can touch the sex offender's license plate again. Meeting, that's called meeting. Meeting in the path, the sex offender 08168F4. Meeting in the path, license plate 87427X1. Okay, the meeting in the path conduct is the entity that is gang stalking, tracking your steps, knowing exactly where you are and who you are. which the fake sun, as I'm showing you, is your ability to witness that in plain view. That supernatural aspect of the pattern of conduct, and it is speaking to the demonic, and these are a bunch of demons that are pacing all around with light in order to monitor with the government that's stalking over here at G Street now, while I'm over here at G Street. 5CGU 771. Woodside Senior Apartments is gang stalking while the entity is following with planes and with light. 7VBG 567. 6ELB 522. That plane activity is audible activity. And demons at a fake church are engaged in gang stalking. I'm reading their license plates right now. 8TRU 934. Pacing, where the entity is sounding plane activity. 8LPD 612. 9EEG 882. License 7VXB 771. Ontario Police gang stalking, crossing path with them. These are the Spanish-speaking demons at the fake church. And, it says something Ontario. They're congregating. Let me go ahead and take a picture because they're gang stalking with the Ontario Police. All right, you will see what is relevant positioning. This is where the Ontario International Airport is crossing path, where the Ontario Police is crossing path, where the Ontario Fire Department sounds just one round of a siren, where the entity is stalking in the path at that parking lot with a bunch of demons that are stalking in order to molest with light, pacing in and out of the gym at 130 West G Street while they're monitoring. And this is what Nathan is engaging in while I'm documenting him speaking as an entity, engaging in harassment, while the Ontario Police, as you'll recall, fly right over my head by helicopter. This is the same pattern of conduct with the Ontario Police Department crossing path. License 7JF. Well, I can't really see the rest of that one. This is P.O.C. Let me get these third parties over here. The demon stalking at a fake church. And like I said, gang stalking immigrants, they're rightfully deported. License 8 PFH 363, monitoring with that demon that's meeting as I cross the street in order to touch with light while these Spanish-speaking demons at a fake church are congregated. Let me show you my shadow on the sidewalk and on the wall. All right, this is the Iglesia El Diablo, Satan's fake church with impossible light all over it at 215 West G Street. A bunch of demons congregated in front of it. Spanish speaking, if those that are not natural born citizens, they are going to be deported out of California. They're engaged in the P.O.C. in Ontario with impunity. And it's going to include the immigrant population that's going to be prosecuted. 65864F4, license plate 6ZNK111. And this is a part of blowing the whistle to the federal government about the gang stalking conduct of the state of California. So it is currently, by the way, 9:38 p.m. License 8HNC933. This entity, this neighborhood's gang stalking with the police like I've been documenting. As the Ontario Police cross path and you're documenting the Ontario International Airport flying over their homes, your shadows appearing perpendicular upright on a wall in front of you on the ground, all around you. This ridiculous light activity, it's demonic and it's pursuant to criminal monitoring that those natural born and those granted the privilege to be in this country are engaging in together in the same exact manner. Those that are not born citizens, meaning you've been granted the privilege to be here, that privilege is being revoked upon gang stalking with the state. And the entire city of Ontario, all the residents are gang stalking in Ontario. 9RWZ356, just to understand the implications of the impunity that I'm documenting. And it is that which is expressed by the entire city of Ontario that's gang stalking. And that is shown through what is the fake sun that's remaining over me for the entirety of a day, where the entity is using the operations of an airport to fly nowhere near from any terminals, to hover over the neighborhoods where I'm located, where the entity is engaging in what is sexual violence, public corruption, conspiring to murder and kidnap an American citizen that they're targeting with the state. Yeah, you're being deported. License 8UTZ570. And the Ontario Police is being disbanded. They're sharing in this gang stalking right now as they're crossing path. They already are while the people of the state are engaging in it. But they're crossing path with regard to, this is again, the same foolishness that I caught. So you have over 70 videos of the Ontario Police providing evidence that they were kidnapping on 9SUM227, that they were committing kidnapping on May 29, 2025. These are mentally ill psychopaths whose criminal engagement in federal group stalking and monitoring is long overdue with regard to exposing it to the world, and also removing the demon-infected cockroaches like Paul Leon and Alan D. Wapner from office, and removing the ability of psychopaths that are bearing authority that is a threat to the public while they're gang stalking using planes and helicopters, police departments and fire departments, etc., to engage in a gang stalking pattern of conduct. This is the entity that's engaging in that with that level of impunity. It's all the license plates you hear me stating. If you hear me reading license plate after license plate, it's a reference. It's an illustration of impunity. There is no exception to the pattern of conduct, and this is what Tracy Banks is engaging in: gang stalking, and it's directly relevant to her maintaining a secret conservatorship with this entity that's gang stalking, doing so in a means procured through fraud and procured through what is the use of gang stalking, which is supposed to create the illusion of mental illness, but it does not create the illusion of mental illness, nor does it create actual mental illness. And this is the prosecution of the state of California that engaged in targeting in the way that I have thoroughly proven provided a surplus of evidence, including while they're gang stalking now. While population is following me from place to place, Tracy Banks is engaged in what is maintaining a secret and criminally procured conservatorship, targeting me with the state of California that conspired murder and kidnapping, which is why they're gang stalking me. The entire city and every level of government in Ontario is gang stalking with demons like Tracy Banks who are going to federal prison literally by virtue of the evidence that I'm gathering tonight on an ongoing basis, but also tonight. 6W53229. And this is the significance of the Ontario police providing me 70 plus videos of them gang stalking me post the kidnapping that they committed with Tracy Banks. And this is, again, before I already have years of them gang stalking, and nobody is disregarding that evidence, nor are you going to disregard the evidence of 70 plus videos accumulated since June 3rd. You're also not going to disregard the evidence of the people of the state gang stalking in Ontario with the government, because that's what Tracy Banks represents. And this high school graduate, this pedophile, thought that she was going to steal property that belongs to me. Not only is that not going to happen, she's going to prison. This is evidence that's putting her away, and this is evidence that's removing the Ontario Police Department, and this is evidence that's removing the airport. This is evidence that's removing the gang stalking officials like Paul Leon. This is evidence that's removing Alan D. Wapner and that gang stalking city council, and putting the people of the state who obviously have no issue with their identities being published on the internet, and the federal government identifying them, engaging in domestic terrorism and sexual violence, because the entity is going to be prosecuted for that. And it's always relevant to the bigger picture that Tracy Banks is engaged in what is conspiring murder and kidnapping with this gang stalking entity. That's what it's relevant to. While the demons are focused on and hostile because I'm documenting them, and they engage in more incriminating conduct, the entity is being prosecuted for conspiring murder and kidnapping using fake conservatorships and a fake marriage while they're engaged in the pattern of conduct in California using gang stalking. And those that are not natural born citizens gang stalking, they're being deported. They're not even welcome in this country. 5FPC 509. 9NJB 865, they were monitoring the entire time while I'm walking up the street, while their co-defendants are molesting with light and stalking in planes and stalking by the Ontario Police. 8ELL139. This is the entity that is providing evidence against the court that provided a fake conservatorship, criminally procured outside of the procedure of how you create a conservatorship, unbeknownst to me, while I'm simultaneously being gang stalked, not a coincidence, and maintaining a fraudulent marriage that I know nothing about either. The gang stalking by the state, by the city of Ontario, the fake son documentation, the stalking by the airport, the entity engaging in what is ongoing harassment and kidnapping. It's directly relevant to that. Tracy Banks is going to federal prison. It's currently 9:43 p.m. This is the entity providing evidence against itself. That's P.O.C. All right, stalking inside of the 7-Eleven, 7SIY 097, VV8 7567, Texas 5YXR 700. And this is the entity that Tracy Banks is relying on is going to cause the illusion of mental illness. She's going to prison. She's delusional. And so are the demons of the Ontario Police Department, because they're going to prison and they're being disbanded. But this is gang stalking at the 7-Eleven, as even the clerk has demonstrated on video with the same Ontario Police Department, maintaining the elements of monitoring inside of the store. It is 9:49 p.m. This is Exhibit A. Stalking in the path and engineered light, and that ongoing obsession is relevant to that pattern of conduct. What's the total? All right, that's what you're always mindful of, is the entity's whole purpose of gang stalking in the first place. And it's going back to who's going to federal prison. Yes, I'm documenting plenty of people stalking with the police, which is the basis of federal prison. I'm documenting corrupt businesses engaged in federal prison, doing so with the police in any manner, doing so while you're at work gang stalking with the police, doing so while you are engaged in criminal summoning with the police, doing so while you are engaged in the pattern of conduct where you reside and the entity is gang stalking with the police, federal prison. But the entity, Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields, the Ontario Police Department, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, gang stalking, this is the bigger picture, and this, you're not getting lost in the trees. This is Tracy Banks' criminal activity, conspiring murder and kidnapping by gang stalking through the state. And this evidence is exactly why the entity is not stealing my property, and Tracy Banks and Nathan Morgan, C. Torres, L. Martinez, and B. Hook are going to federal prison, and so is every other gang stalking officer. And you see their demon possession, which is relevant to their mental illness, and this mental illness is relevant to what is psychopathic. The entity conspiring against other American citizens, and while I'm exposing this system of public corruption. This is a wildly corrupt entity full of raging psychopaths who are obsessed, and they've already lost the endeavor of stealing my property and making me look crazy in doing so. This, as I've shown the pattern of conduct, not only is it not successful against me, I'm advocating this doesn't create anybody's mental illness. This is an entity, by first of all, that is also mentally ill, in fact, while they're projecting that onto the targeted individual. And also, it is something that the entity is necessarily doing as a means of what is corrupt practices in the gang stalking courthouses. It is currently 9:52 p.m. This is relevant to Tracy Banks, who's going to federal prison, engaging what is stealing property and trying to steal all of my property through a secretly and fraudulently procured conservatorship. This is what you're mindful of as I document every single license plate, every facilitating venue, every gang stalking incident with helicopter of the Ontario Police Department crossing path and engineer light and under a fake sun. P.O.C. All right, you can see the images of the entity gang stalking at 7-Eleven. I'm capturing license 8TXJ762, 9TJT490. The audible activity is the music and engineer light, and the same police department, the same entity is monitoring EB12B48 paper. The same airport is monitoring 7EQJ246, license 8AAL905, license 6WTZ388. And remember, the reason why Tracy Banks is going to federal prison, not only for gang stalking, not only conspiring to steal via gang stalking, which is the state's criminal purpose as well. Okay, this is public corruption. So the government is fully engaged in that conspiracy to steal via gang stalking, because this is supposed to recreate the illusion of mental illness, which is what a gang stalking state uses to adjudicate over one's property and liberty rights, which is why the laws in this country are also going to change as I expose the system and I prosecute the state of California and disband corrupt police departments like Ontario Police, who seek to steal property from me by gang stalking, and the incentive is stealing from me. Stealing from me where, again, somebody is maintaining this so-called secret society. It's not even a secret. I want to be clear, at this point in the case, they're not getting my property in the first place. So now you're gang stalking for free and you're going to federal prison for nothing. 5 VSS 464. But understand what is the big picture. Tracy Banks is going to federal prison while a population is targeting somebody, and she is the one that's initiating this because she and her sex partner, Jason Isaac Fields, sought to steal property from me and thought that the genius way to do it would be through gang stalking, which implicates the government that's engaged in gang stalking, the government that's following me around in commercial airline planes, the government that's following me around, and that's as a matter of evidence. There is no confusion or hallucination. The demons are the ones whose mental illness are going to be at the forefront of their prosecution when they're engaging in demonstrating mental illness, stalking somebody as a population, stalking somebody in engineer light, stalking somebody that they're pursuing that they don't even know. Not that there's a reason to engage in stalking under the law, but the entity is engaging in what is the pattern of conduct, and it is the demonstration of mental illness on behalf of that entity. And this is evidence that under no circumstances is the state successful in taking my property pursuant to some secret conservatorship, which is a criminal act committed by the same state that's gang stalking me. Okay, the entity is under all circumstances exposed, and the Ontario Police Department and the wealth of evidence against that Ontario Police Department, and not only Ontario Police, remember I'm documenting a plethora of law enforcement agencies gang stalking, which is again the criminal conduct of Jason Fields and Tracy Banks. And not only they're not taking my property, this is the prosecution of that government that engages in this very conduct and falsely depicting the character of American citizens. This is necessitating the change of laws. Nobody should be able to, at their whim, their own decision, go into a corrupt court at that and just submit to a court on their own volition that they don't think that somebody should hold onto their property because they think that they are incompetent in one way or another when it's concerning their own property. And it's not the government's concern, especially when you have this level of corruption. The threat is larger, it's greater, and it surpasses what is the supposed interest in permitting outsiders, third parties, to interfere with the property rights of an American citizen, because gang stalking is used to engage in theft and also kidnapping inside of facilities where the entity literally manufactures mental illness. So I just want to make sure that this is clear, because the entity just provided a wealth of evidence today on another day. I have over 70 videos of the Ontario Police engaged in what is hardcore evidence. This is not just me missing and just getting a hint of this and well maybe that, but not really sure. I have hardcore evidence of a pattern of conduct that long exists before 2025, and multiple police departments engaging in this, law enforcement agencies, because it's also the sheriff's departments I've documented, engaging in the same pattern of conduct. My evidence is solid, and it is serving for what is a straightforward prosecution, and it's directly relevant to the corrupt acts of the government seeking to steal through corrupt means of criminal defamation and theft, which is the conservatorship. It's directly relevant to the Ontario International Airport, the Ontario Police Department, the Ontario Fire Department, the City of Ontario altogether, that is targeting an American citizen in furtherance of murder and kidnapping, because the entity has this fake conservatorship that is maintained as a secret. So this is what is causing a whole population to terrorize an American citizen. And this is what they have lost. And they are witnessing their loss, and you're witnessing also how corrupt and maniacal they are, while the mental illness of the demon-possessed who engage in this conspiracy, this level of targeting an American citizens for profit. All right, putting the life of an American citizen at risk for profit. This is why the Ontario Police is being disbanded. And as I capture another day of rich, probative, weighty evidence, the entity engaging in criminal summoning at the Starbucks and at the OVITT Family Community Library, the fake sun remaining for the duration of the day on one street within 0.4 miles, where that same police department is engaged in kidnapping, while the entity seeking to criminally defame on paper. None of this works. I'm showing you how the process of targeting someone in furtherance of trying to steal property from them, how the government does it. The government does it through corrupt systems like gang stalking. And this is why the laws are going to change. So since this is what the government is engaging in, since this is how a government can engage in this against any person, there is no basis whereby the threat is supported by what is the so-called interest in protecting the property of American citizens when it's against their will, and when anybody can come in and claim to be looking out for the interests of an American citizen. If it's against your will, and if it's something that you don't agree to, based on the entity gang stalking and what I've shown, no government should be able or nor have any authority or power to permit another to take your property, to take your money, especially when they can manufacture and they sick. And by sick, I mean they incentivize people to attack you, like I'm documenting. Every single license plate, ongoing evidence against the state of California, they're not taking my property. They're not taking my property, and they have proven the fact of the entire purpose of gang stalking in the first place. Psychopaths that are engaging in stalking with light, stalking in the middle of the night, stalking 24 hours a day, stalking ceaselessly, stalking in bathrooms, stalking through police departments, stalking through a corrupt government at every level, using things like fire trucks and fire stations and ambulance vehicles to engage in stalking an American citizen. That is not stealing my property. That is a demonstration. That's an example as to why the laws in the country are going to change. And that is also why Tracy Banks is going to federal prison. Nathan Morgan, C. Torres, L. Martinez, and B. Hook are going to federal prison. The gang stalkers engaged in criminal summoning with the Ontario Police Department, they're going to federal prison. You have Mike Lorenz and the demons of the Ontario Police Department, they're being disbanded and they're done with law enforcement. The entity is not stealing my property, however. The entity has fully demonstrated the fact that they are engaged in targeting me and sought to do so because they thought that this was going to result in stealing my property and falsely depicting my character, and no, you have not. At all. At all. So now the entity is engaged in what is obsessively targeting me, just relentlessly targeting, not even trying to conceal the fact that they're targeting, not even trying to act like they're not targeting. And they're doing so based on now this satanic ego-driven agenda, as opposed to the whole purpose was you were supposed to make the target individual appear like they're hallucinating, like they're imagining it. That's not happening when the entity is clearly following far from any airport takeoff as I'm leaving from one venue to the next using commercial planes that are hovering over. When the entity is fully documented, targeting by a corrupt police department, you're driving by me after I leave the Starbucks and you're the same one that I'm documenting by name. You're not addressing me, you're keeping your back to me, you're going inside of the venue, all manner of a threat posed by Corey Watson, okay? Badge number 80548. But he is following, crossing path again after I leave the Starbucks, and I'm showing you the fake sun, and the entity is flying over my head by helicopter. There's no coincidences here. The entity is showing that it is under all circumstances clearly engaged in targeting, and there is no effort to maintain any sort of secrecy behind that. You're not accomplishing the original objective in the first place. And the entity is providing evidence, putting Tracy Banks where she belongs, in a cage, where pedophiles like her should go and never get out. This is what the demons of the Ontario Police Department are engaging in. This is speaking to, again, the maniacal psychopaths who are obsessed with an objective that they failed at. And now you're looking at their mental illness on full display, where I'm documenting hundreds of people gang stalking me in a very obvious and exposed manner. You're not accomplishing stealing my property. You just provided me further evidence supporting why the laws are going to change, while gang stalkers are going to walk away with a criminal record that shall permanently alter the trajectory of their life. And that's necessary. Psychopaths that want to engage in gang stalking like I'm documenting, it's evidence against the entity. It's always relevant to the secret conservatorship. They're not, Tracy Banks and no other demon, Jason Isaac, none of them are stealing my property. They're going to federal prison for conspiring with this highly unintelligent and entirely psychopathic entity that has now, at this point, you are admitting that you're stalking. At this level of evidence, you're admitting it. The entire entity. Okay, that's what's relevant. That's what you're mindful of as I document license plate after license plate, venue after venue, plane after plane, the Ontario police officer after officer gang stalking, and the entity keeping the fake sun for the duration of the day. All right, and stalking in things like bathrooms. That population is then going into bathrooms and stalking. No one has forgotten the evidence about what you're doing, and then that is stalking me in a bathroom. They're not stealing any property. You're mindful of what Tracy Banks' inevitable fate is, and every kidnapper with the Ontario Police, the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department, subject to what is disbanding as well. Okay, Shannon Dykes is fully engaged in that pattern of conduct, gang stalking as the same corrupt entity, and exercising authority under the law, and it's a threat to the American public, while the entity is engaged in this manner of public corruption to steal property from an American citizen. Okay, and that is my property and all of my property, and this gang stalking government is going to turn it back over. And those that sought to falsely depict my character on paper, they're going to federal prison. And why is that? Because the entity sought to keep me confined in a facility, so it's either me or that gang stalking judge. And I'm going to let you know now, justice requires that it's that gang stalking judge that's not ignorantly engaging and facilitating this, that I'm subject to it. Okay, it's not ignorant. This is the pattern of conduct. And it is occurring in the gang stalking courts who permit their third parties like Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields to procure on paper, unbeknownst to a targeted individual, the fact that they're married to somebody and the fact that somebody has a conservatorship over them. No information, no one's ever exposed that, never been part of any sort of hearing. That's a part of the pattern of conduct. You're going to prison for that. And they are still gang stalking while they have already lost that endeavor. So you're witnessing mental illness. The entity is going to be diagnosed. I have the evidence to prove it. While they rely on merely gossip and engaging in what is making up information and just putting it on paper through a demon-possessed mental health professional who needs to be removed from the medical profession. They're making it up. So the entity is still gang stalking, and you're not even that level of delusion. You're gang stalking. You're not getting any of my money. You're not getting any of my property. You're fully exposed, and it's no longer a secret either. The entire fact of gang stalking is established on the backs of these demons gang stalking in California. They're not getting any of my property. And you got a lot of people that are going to prison, federal prison. Okay. The entity is also engaging in that through the corrupt practices of businesses like the Starbucks, corrupt businesses like Omnitrans, corrupt businesses like Southwest Airlines, Delta Airlines, Amazon Prime. This is speaking to a pervasive means of exposure and also justice, civilly and criminally. And they're not taking any of my property. In fact, I'm going to drain the pockets of the entity. I'm going to prosecute in ways in which the entity has not fathomed. And that's based on the way in which the entity is targeting an American citizen, which entitles any American citizen to enforce their rights in the same manner. This is holding on to property that belongs to me, and also setting precedent for any other American citizen that can literally use my evidence of the fake son in order to enforce your rights against a targeting public entity that is seeking to falsely depict the character of another, steal property from you, kidnap you, and they're doing it in a specific environment. You can literally use my evidence of the fake son in order to prosecute any gang stalking government in this country. It is currently 10:08 p.m. Tracy Banks' license plate is 9HUZ740. Her sex partner is Jason Isaac Fields. These are the two that are going to federal prison because they are at the forefront of seeking to conspire with this gang stalking government that I single-handedly exposed and documented in order to prosecute. And as I prosecute them, it's going right to those two demons who are going to federal prison. And this entity that's gang stalking, they put Tracy Banks in federal prison. They put Jason Isaac Fields in federal prison. These ignoramuses that call themselves geniuses, they're not stealth. They're not clever. They don't even have enough self-control to not get caught stalking under a fake son, which is direct evidence. When you don't understand how you're going to be exposed, when you don't understand how the government's going to be prosecuted for this, that's why you follow around the city in an obvious manner, far from any terminal takeoff, far from any ability to reconcile, well, why are you flying over that house at that time, at that elevation, at that volume level, that many at that level of frequency? And this person is able to document it all those times for a prolonged period of years. Remember, I'm staying in multiple hotels in Ontario, and the Ontario International Airport is gang stalking me at each and every one of them. Okay, the entity is gang stalking under the specific environment. Jason Isaac Fields and Tracy Banks are going to federal prison. What they have stolen from me, they are going to pay it back with interest, and the government is also not taking any part in stealing my property. And justice requires the gang stalking terrorist organization, the Ontario Police, they are done with law enforcement and they are being disbanded. Everyone that ever put their hands on me, kidnapping, they're going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. The entity is gang stalking, and there will be no theft of Erica Lorraine Spencer's property, and that's because they are going to be diagnosed as the psychopaths that they are. I'm at the TABOR professional building where the entity is engaged in surveillance all night long. This is P.O.C. It's 10:10 p.m. (10:47 p.m. Ontario Police gang stalking, crossing path in the engineered environment, stalking, where the engineered light is, the entity is stalking. Ontario Police is stalking and molesting my person like the sex offenders that they are, obsessed with my vagina, stalking in the bathroom and molesting me with impossible light while they're gang stalking crossing path driving west on G Street, which is never going to result in my person being touched with light by headlights. Okay, those are demons. Those are the demons that are going to be disbanded for trying to steal from an American citizen whom they've conspired with a gang stalker such as Tracy Banks and Jason Fields to steal property from, and that's why they're gang stalking as a whole police department. They're being disbanded for it. And those demons are being removed from law enforcement. It's currently 10:47 p.m. at the TABOR professional building where the Ontario Police are stalking me. P.O.C. All right, here's the Ontario Police gang stalking for the second time today by helicopter. They were following at the U.S. Bank while the fake sun was over my head and flying over me while I'm documenting the P.O.C. that the Ontario Police practice. And they are gang stalking again in helicopter tonight. They're doing so in the specific environment. This is also supernatural. It's as supernatural as the entity keeping a fake sun on Euclid Avenue from Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue to 215 E.C. Street. As supernatural as impossible light activity moving across the wall while you're driving in the street. Those aren't their headlights. Those are the demons who are gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department. Stalking in the path with light. That's what they like to molest the person with while they're monitoring with the entity that just flew over by helicopter. That's the police department conspiring as a state with Tracy Banks maintaining a secret and criminally fraudulently procured conservatorship, and the entity uses gang stalking in order to criminally defame a targeted individual in order to steal property and money. They're not accomplishing any of this. The entity that is clearly stalking and targeting, which is the Ontario Police Department, engaging in a documented pattern of kidnapping, while they're exhibiting severe mental illness, while they're stalking under things like an entire fake sun, an entirely engineered environment as demons, engaging in what is a supernatural pattern of conduct, speaking to the malice of that gang stalking police department, they're being disbanded and they're going to federal prison. And the wealth of evidence of a police department clearly stalking me is under no circumstances going to result in Tracy Banks, Jason Isaac Fields, or anybody stealing any of my real intellectual or personal property. This is the evidence that's going to disband the Ontario Police Department. Nathan Morgan, B. Hook, C. Torres, and L. Martinez are going to federal prison for kidnapping in furtherance of this conspiracy to steal property from me by engaging in criminal summoning with the intent to engage in criminal defamation. That's why Tracy Banks made up all that information on May 29th. That's why the Ontario police, who are gang stalking me as I'm documenting on an ongoing ceaseless basis, engaged in conspiring with Tracy Banks, lying with her, and kidnapping with the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. But this, which is proven through evidence, does not result in any theft of my property through a criminally procured conservatorship. This is the prosecution of the state of California. This is the disbanding of the Ontario Police Department. And Tracy Banks, license 9HUZ740, she's going to federal prison. And her sex partner, Jason Isaac Fields, he's going to federal prison. And maintaining a fraudulently procured marriage because these two sex partners, the dynamic of a mother and son having sex with each other and targeting me and engaging in what is soliciting the gang stalking government in order to target me in order to do so. This is P.O.C. It's currently 11 p.m. where the Ontario police are clearly targeting in this environment. They've been targeting all day long. They flew over my head by helicopter at the U.S. Bank, where I'm showing that Ontario police gang stalking under a fake sun. And they're doing so in concert with the people of the state who are also targeting while impossible light coexists with their ongoing demonic pacing. This is where the Ontario police also, I documented on podcast, they're crossing path. They are molesting me with impossible light, just like you saw the people of the state doing. The Ontario police are gang stalking, and that entire police department is being removed from law enforcement, and they're being disbanded. And every gang stalking police officer is subject to federal prison. This is P.O.C. That's stalking in the path with light. There's my shadow. I want you to see that. You see my shadow on that sign over there? That's impossible light. And that's also, again, severely bright headlights. That's not headlights. Those are demons stalking in the path with light. While the Ontario Police Department is targeting me with the demons who are gang stalking. The people of the state that drive by Starbucks, and engineer light flies inside of the cafe, just like you're seeing at nightfall, engineer light swiping across the surfaces, and my shadow appearing on the signage at a distance away. This is the stalking with light at nightfall. That's impossible light. Stalking in the path. This is P.O.C. The Ontario Police Department is being disbanded, and this is the unintelligent engagement in what is documented stalking by the police department, who got so carried away in targeting that they forgot that once you have evidence of it, it's not going to create the illusion of mental illness on the part of the targeted individual. It's going to be the evidence that's going to put them in federal prison, and justice requires they're going to be disbanded as well. This is P.O.C. It's currently 11:01 p.m. This is putting Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields in federal prison as well.